Chapter 8:18. On the other side, the professor in class put on his glasses and looked at the name list in his hand. He frowned in confusion. When did an exchange student come to our school? This name list was placed on his table this morning. Bae-yunj. The professor shouted at the classroom hall, but no one answered. A dark look flashed across Lilia's eyes. She did not expect that person to be late for no reason on the first day of the exchange students' class. Was she relying on the Fernandes family behind her? Coincidentally, the morning class was late that day. Just as the professor's expression was not too good, and he shouted for the third time, a voice suddenly sounded from the door. "Sorry, Professor, I'm late." In the blink of an eye, the crowd saw a beautiful girl. Her eyes were lazy and unruly, causing people to be dazzled. The professor felt that Bae-yunj's tone was quite sincere. Because of this face, the professor's expression softened. "Why are you late?" Bae-yunj did not think that she could tell the truth in this situation. After thinking for a long time, she found an excuse: helping an old grandpa cross the road. All of a sudden, the atmosphere was quiet. The professor's expression darkened again. A few girls could not help but burst into laughter as they looked at the girl at the door. This was the first time they had met such a student from Country A. She was too daring. As expected, when the professor heard this, he asked Bae-yunj to stand at the door to see if there were any other old grandpas who needed help. Bae-yunj propped her head lazily and glanced at the message Delaney sent her. She threw her phone back into her pocket. Until class ended, only then did the professor allow Bae-yunj to return to the classroom. At this moment, the students were privately splitting into groups. "Have you guys split into groups?" After saying that, the girl looked at Bae-yunj again. With the exchange student, there's no shortage of people. With that said, everyone glanced at Bae-yunj and immediately rushed to form a team. "Lilia, can I be in the same group as you?" "Lilia, come with me." Bae-yunj turned around and saw a familiar face. She saw Lilia look up at her and raise her eyebrows at her. She slowly walked to the back seat and found an empty seat. In these 10 minutes, everyone was scrambling to form a team with the outstanding students in the class, fearing that they would encounter a bad teammate. But in the end, there would still be students who were left behind. The remaining 4 students looked at each other, and then at Bae-yunj in the back row. Among the 4 of them, 3 of them were from Country A. Because of the language barrier, very few people were willing to team up with them. "Yelena, aren't you going to team up with us?" The teammate beside Lilia frowned and shouted for Yelena again. Yelena's grades in the class were also ranked second. Why would he be willing to be in the same group as those who were left behind? No need. After Yelena finished speaking, she sat down in front of Bae-yunj and smiled. "Hello, I'm Yelena." When Bae-yunj was talking to the professor just now, she had noticed Bae-yunj. She liked Bae-yunj's personality very much. "Hello." Bae-yunj curled her lips. "I'm Bae-yunj. Can I form a team with you?" Yelena did not hide her intention to seduce Bae-yunj. Even Lilia, who was in front, frowned when she heard this. Her relationship with Yelena had always been quite average, but she was clear about Yelena's strength. She did not understand why she would waste her time forming a team with those people. P.S. Our monthly votes are getting fewer and fewer. Good luck, guys. Chapter 8:19. Bae-yunj glanced at Yelena and answered casually. The other 3 looked at each other and immediately asked, "Then can we team up with you?" Bae-yunj glanced at them. "Anything is fine." Hearing this, the 3 of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. But the next moment, they heard a sneer not far away. "No way. Do they think they can make a comeback with Yelena? Yelena hasn't come to class for 2 to 3 months. Who knows what the group report will be like this time? Don't talk about it. Didn't they bring along a burden who doesn't know anything? I don't know what kind of background that person has. How can a third-year student become an exchange student of our 3rd year? And other than her, I've never heard of any exchange students in our school." The others started discussing, especially Lilia's team. They were full of pride and were already determined to get first place. "Lilia, how should we arrange the group report this time?" someone asked. Lilia also smiled. "There's no hurry. There's still 4 to 5 days. There won't be any problems. The group report this time was actually for the speech in 4 days. 4 days later, the Delaney Group's key project would come to Neely University to pick people to join their project team. Now, the Delaney Group was very popular and had become an employment company that computer science students were scrambling for. However, the Delaney Group had always been strict in choosing people. Even at a top school like Neely University, only a few could enter the Delaney Group. Someone asked carefully, "Lilia, do you want to intern at the Delaney Group or Angel Group in the future?" Everyone waited for Lilia's answer. Lilia curled her lips. "I don't plan to enter either of them." With that, she looked at them. "But don't worry, I'm determined to get first place this time." A dark glint flashed across Lilia's eyes. If she returned to Angel Group, she would be monitored by Elena. If she went to the Delaney Group, she would easily offend her family. Fortunately, she had already prepared a third path. Lilia had already found out that the Delaney Group was not the only one who came to their school to recruit people. It was just another organization that could not be made public. However, as long as she was chosen by the people of that place, even the Angel family or the Fernandes family would favor her. Therefore, she had to get first place. Afternoon. Bei Yunj had just returned to the classroom when she saw that the other 4 had already finished their work. She thought for a moment. "Don't you need me to do anything?" Yelena also looked at Bei Yunj and thought for a long time. Then, she held Bei Yunj's hand and patted it. "Go and get a glass of water for your team member." Bei Yunj. "Okay." This was the first time that Bei Yunj had been suppressed. Bei Yunj walked out of the classroom with 4 cups in her arms. Not long after she left, someone suddenly grabbed her by the collar. "Where are you going for class?" Bei Yunj looked up and saw that it was her professor. "My team members are thirsty, professor." The professor looked at Bei Yunj and remembered that Bei Yunj was a third-year high school student. Indeed, he couldn't be of much help with the team's report. He did not know what the school was thinking, throwing a third-year high school student into the computer science department. At the thought of this, the professor's face darkened, and he walked towards the principal's office. He cursed, "This is too much. It's fine if you let those people from the math department poach our computer science department yesterday. Now, you actually threw a third-year high school student into our department." Chapter 820. At this moment, in the principal's office, the atmosphere was tense. "What are you doing here?" The principal couldn't help but ask. Fernandes was still sitting on the sofa, looking dignified. "Worrell, your Neely University is the top school in our nation. Are you so mean to the exchange students?" Worrell seemed to have thought of something and immediately retorted, "Stop talking nonsense. Our school treats everyone equally." Fernandes chuckled. "Treat everyone equally? Treat everyone equally? You don't treat the exchange students as humans?" The butler beside him looked down and didn't say a word. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Principal Worrell had a headache. He didn't know why Fernandes had come to find trouble with him today. "You're still not admitting it? Have you ever cared about the life and death of an exchange student here?" After Fernandes finished speaking, Principal Worrell thought that he was talking about Professor Bress. He couldn't help but feel guilty. "It's not that serious, right?" "It's not that serious." Fernandes' face darkened. "If anything happens to that student, can you bear the responsibility?" Worrell was speechless. In the end, his voice weakened. "I'll comfort them and give them some rewards." Fernandes' expression improved slightly when he heard that. "What reward?" Principal Worrell said. "A bonus. You think it's over just by paying some money?" Fernandes' eyes widened. How could the Fernandes family lack this bit of scholarship? Principal Worrell found Fernandes annoying, but he couldn't show it on his face. He could only ask with a fake smile. "Then what do you think we should do?" "Let's get a postgraduate degree and enter a key laboratory." Fernandes nodded in self-affirmation, feeling very satisfied. Little snail Chinese network. The butler's eyelids twitched when he heard this exorbitant demand. Principal Worrell was speechless. He really dared to say that. "No." Principal Worrell rejected with a dark expression. "Our school has never had such an example." "Really?" Fernandes leaned over and asked. "Then what if I donate a few more buildings?" Principal Worrell said, "No." Then I'll fund your school's laboratory? Principal Worrell suddenly paused and fell silent. Is your illegitimate son inside? Or your son's illegitimate son? Headmaster Worrell asked. Vernon's face darkened. Cut the crap. Principal Worrell smiled and leaned back on the sofa leisurely. Mr. Fernans, I'm really sorry. Mr. Delaney has already decided to fund our laboratory. If it were any other time, he might have agreed to Fernan's rude condition. But now he didn't lack investors. As expected, Fernan's face darkened. Are you kidding me? He suppressed his anger. You don't agree, do you? Do you think your Neely University is the only good school in our nation? Good, very good. When that girl finishes her 3rd year of high school, I'll push resources to whichever school she wants to attend in the future. Hearing this, Headmaster Worrell suddenly sensed that something was wrong. Senior year? Isn't he a freshman? Principal Worrell asked. Vernon sneered. You're still pretending? My girl is only a senior high school student. And you dare to let her be an exchange student in the computer science department. We don't have any exchanges this semester, Shung said. Before Principal Worrell could finish speaking, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Chapter 821. Principal Worrell suddenly had a ridiculous thought. The way he looked at Fernans changed again and again, and the teacup in his hand almost shook. Who are you talking about? Principal Worrell felt that his voice was a little weak. Fernans sneered. Are you still pretending? Are you trying to deny it? Principal Worrell was speechless. He really could not believe that a new scientific researcher could be related to such an unreasonable old man's family. Did he make a mistake? Principal Worrell asked again stubbornly. The girl you're talking about is an exchange student from the 3rd year computer science department? Seeing that he finally admitted it, Vernon smiled. What else? At this moment, Principal Worrell's expression was distorted. He was extremely jealous. Why was this so? This guy was so rich, yet he could still bring such a scientific research genius home. Did he save the Milky Way in his previous life? Looking at Principal Worrell's distorted expression, Fernans was puzzled. What do you mean by that expression? Don't tell me you have a grudge with my meanie? Principal Worrell listened to Fernans call her his meanie, and was both envious and wanted to punch him. He had never seen anyone who dared to call her meanie. How is that possible? Principal Worrell did not want to say anything more to Fernans. He even felt that Fernans was seriously ill. Did he need to donate a building and fund a laboratory to come to Neely University? If he was willing to come, Neely University could donate a building to the Fernans family. Why do you think that person needs you to donate to the university upstairs? Principal Worrell was really curious. Fernans thought that Principal Worrell was looking down on Bei Yunj, so he immediately said in a boastful tone, What's wrong with donating a building? Armina's studies are poor. So is it a problem for her to be ordinary? Let's pick the books. Our girl is so good looking. Even if she's a vase, she's the prettiest. The butler's eyelids twitched, and he could not help but look at Fernans again. Didn't he say that the madam of the family could not be like Miss Pei, who only had a face? When Principal Worrell heard this, he did not know what expression to put on. There were probably not many people who could say that she was a vase. Suddenly, a dark look flashed across Principal Worrell's eyes before they suddenly became gentle. Actually, your family's girl can also come to our school. Fernans was surprised. He did not understand why Principal Worrell had suddenly changed his mind. Really? Of course it's true. You don't have to donate the building or fund it. Headmaster Worrell didn't dare to ask for it either. She was afraid that he would settle the score with her. However, when Fernans heard him say this, he immediately narrowed his eyes. Worrell, when have you been so polite to me? Previously, the Fernans family had almost been admitted to Neely University. Fernan's son had spent a lot of money to make up for that point. How could Worrell be so understanding now? Principal Worrell froze. Subsequently, Fernans was shocked and angry. Old thing, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to my granddaughter-in-law. Why don't you take a look at how old you are? Can't you act like a human? Principal Worrell. Hold it in. Cultured people shouldn't make a move. No. Principal Worrell was so angry that he could taste blood in his throat. But soon, Principal Worrell reacted and suddenly stood up. What? Your granddaughter-in-law? Chapter 8:22. The butler beside him looked at Fernans, his emotions indescribable. He did not know who it was that angrily called for a family gathering and said that the daughter-in-law of the Fernans family could not only have a face. He even said righteously that the Fernans family never did anything like pulling strings. It scared the young masters of the Fernans family so much that they even asked about their lover's education background. But now? Miss Pei did not say anything, and he came over to spend money to buy schools and resources for Miss Pei. He was probably more concerned than Miss Pei's parents. Now he even admitted that she was his granddaughter-in-law. Not my granddaughter-in-law, but your granddaughter-in-law? Fernans asked coldly. Principal Worrell wanted to say something but hesitated. His expression did not look too good. Was the Fernans family burning incense? Why did all the good things happen to their family? Principal Worrell took a deep breath and asked kindly, Then I wonder, which biological grandson of yours it is? At the same time, Principal Worrell could not help but be excited. If that was the case, wouldn't he be half our nation? He's in a nation, Fernans said. Principal Worrell comforted him. It's okay. Even if he's in a nation, he's still our nation. No, because of some things he took his mother's surname, and his nationality is a nation. Fernan's eyes darkened. Worrell's expression froze when he heard this. Why are you so curious about Armenia? Fernans looked at him strangely. Principal Worrell coughed softly, and did not dare to say anything. After all, if she wanted Fernans to know her true identity, she would have said it long ago. It would not be his turn to speak. Besides, he had signed the agreement with the nation. Fernans, maybe that classmate isn't as bad as you think. Principal Worrell could only hint at him like this. Fernans shook his head. I don't think that girl has a good temper. She's probably a troublemaker. Principal Worrell was speechless. Can I have such a troublemaker as my granddaughter-in-law? Headmaster Worrell hated such people who did not know how lucky they were. After Principal Worrell sent Fernans off, the professor from the computer department slammed the door of the principal's office angrily. Headmaster Worrell hadn't even taken a sip of his tea. What's the matter? Principal, how can you place a third-year exchange student in our class? We're from the third class. Principal Worrell's eyelids twitched. He remembered that this batch of professors had not signed the agreement yet. It's only for a few days anyway. Just bear with it. After that, Principal Worrell didn't even open the door. He put on his earpiece and turned on the computer to watch the basketball match. The professor outside shouted for a long time, but when he saw that the principal didn't come out, his face changed. This was too irresponsible to the students. This was also the first time he knew that third-year high school students were sent to the third-year university as exchange students. How was this the style of a top university? The professor was angry for a long time, but he could only return to the classroom. Sitting in the car, Fernans recalled Principal Worrell's vague words to Bei Yunj. It was as if they didn't dare to recruit Bei Yunj into the school after hearing what he said. Fernans asked the butler in confusion. So that mean his studies are so bad that I can't get into Neely University even if I spend money? The butler smiled gently. Sir, it might also be because your words just now scared Principal Worrell. Chapter 8:23. Fernans frowned. I'm not agitated. With that said, however, Fernans was clearly worried. He was worried that the Fernans family would have such a wife in the future. At the same time, Bei Yunj saw the message from Shang Yan. Shang Yan, the people from the technical department said that they want to change your project. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and replied quickly. Shang Yan, they haven't gotten off work yet. Bei Yunj's eyes flickered, and she looked at Yelena. You really don't need my help? Yelena turned to look at Bei Yunj. You're the face of our team. What can you do for us? Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. Then I'll go back first. I still have something to do. Then you can go back. Yelena was very generous, and the others looked at this third-year high school girl with kind eyes. This was a third-year project report. No matter how inhumane they were, they wouldn't exploit a third-year high school girl. Then from the corner of her eye, Lilia also saw Bei Yunj leaving with her things. Lilia, Someone called out to her and followed Lilia's gaze. When they saw Bei Yunj leaving, they couldn't help but sneer. Yelena is so magnanimous. She brought 3 burdens and a third-year high school kid who can't help at all. Lilia also laughed. A dark look flashed across her eyes before she turned her head away disapprovingly. However, just after Bei Yunj agreed to go to Higgins' group, she walked on the campus with her hat pressed down. At the same time, the butler was still comforting Fernand's. "Number 5-inch-old sir. You don't have to think so much. Mr. Ho won't pick the wrong person." The butler continued to smile. "Maybe Miss is also a promising talent." "Stop the car." Before the butler could finish speaking, Fernand's interrupted him. Then, the butler looked up and saw Bei Yunj walking slowly by the roadside. The butler was speechless. Neely University's computer science students wouldn't be loitering around the campus at this time. Then it was confirmed. Miss Pei skipped class twice a day. In the face of this situation, the butler, who had always been full of smiles, could no longer smile. The next moment, the gloomy Fernandes opened the door and got out of the car. As it happens, the moment Bei Yunj looked up, she saw an old gentleman in a suit beside her. Bei Yunj obviously didn't expect to be caught by the old man twice in a day. "You skip class twice a day?" For the first time, Fernandes knew what it meant to expect better from someone. In the past, in the family, the younger generation did not dare to cry and make a scene in front of Fernandes. It was their parents who strictly restrained them. Therefore, in Fernandes' eyes, all the juniors were obedient, sensible, and proactive. This was really the first time in Fernandes' life that he had encountered a thorn like Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj paused for a moment, then slowly chewed on the candy. When the butler saw how furious Fernandes was, he could not help but lower his head and hide the smile on his face. He suddenly seemed to know why Fernandes would not let Bei Yunj go. Everyone was well-behaved, respectful, and obedient in front of Fernandes. Only this girl in front of him had an unruly personality, but she was very likable to the elders. And the Fernandes family had never had such a junior. The only girl in the family was like a mouse seeing a cat when she saw Fernandes. Chapter 824. Seeing that Bei Yunj did not speak, Fernandes became even angrier. "Don't you have anything to say?" Bei Yunj looked up and asked seriously. "Then do you want to listen to my excuses?" Fernandes was speechless. The butler was speechless. This train of thought seemed to be right, but there seemed to be something wrong. Until the next moment. Before Fernandes could reprimand him, an angry voice suddenly sounded from behind. "Bei Yunj? Where are you going?" Fernandes turned around and saw a middle-aged man wearing glasses. "He should be a professor," the professor said angrily. "About you helping the old man cross the road this morning." "I haven't," suddenly. Bei Yunj's lips curled up. He moved closer to Fernandes and held his arm. He said sincerely, "Professor, look, I helped the old man this morning." The professor was speechless. Fernandes was speechless. Then, under the professor's gaze, Fernandes took a deep breath and glared fiercely at Bei Yunj. However, the next moment, he turned around and smiled kindly. "Hello. I'm the one who received help from this classmate this morning. Grandpa." The professor was speechless. The butler was speechless. It was almost certain that those people in the family would never have thought that the old master was a parent who doted on the younger generation. If it were any other junior in the Fernandes family, who would dare to tug at Fernandes' sleeve and ask him to help lie? Miss Pei was also someone with a wild background. "Have I seen you somewhere before?" The professor felt that this old man, who was helped across the road by Bei Yunj, looked very familiar. "I don't think so." After saying that, Fernandes smiled even more kindly and patted Bei Yunj's head. "Good child. Hurry up and go to class with the professor. Don't waste your precious learning time." Bei Yunj was speechless. Soon, Bei Yunj could only follow the professor back. However, the professor felt that something was wrong. 186 Chinese website. The car that the old man got into just now was probably a luxury car worth tens of millions. Did he still need to walk across the road? At this thought, the professor checked the car again. He realized that there was only one car sold in the world. It was bought by the old man from the Fernandes family 2 years ago, Who the F***ck could help this old man cross the road? The professor was speechless. No wonder he looked familiar. He wanted to curse. The professor looked at Bei Yunj again. He roughly knew why Bei Yunj was put in this class. After Bei Yunj sent a message to Shang Yan, the people from the Higgins group, they knew that they had been stood up by their boss again. As expected of the boss, he was wild. After class, Bei Yunj was still sitting in her seat, flipping through the book in boredom. Suddenly, Bei Yunj felt the phone in her pocket vibrate. Then she opened it. It was a message to her too. Do you want to call you seeing this? Bei Yunj's eyes curved as she replied to him lazily. Class is starting soon. Brother, can you give me 3 minutes? How could the man in Yuncheng not know that this little girl was doing it on purpose? He curled his thin lips and chuckled softly. Not long after, Bei Yunj received a message from the man. Pay attention in class. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and lazily rested her chin on her hand. She glanced at the chat history between her and Huashidu. This man almost only used online chats as a communication tool. He was a little cold. Only the last time he was drunk. P.S. It's the end of the month. Remember the monthly votes. Chapter 825. Yelena came over and flipped through the report. She felt that it looked familiar, but also very unfamiliar. This was not just a little change. Almost only their original framework was retained, and a large number of deletions were rewritten in the report. The entire report was filled with precise professional content that involved many fields. Even Yelena could not understand it. Yelena asked subconsciously, "Who was the last to leave?" I think it's Bei Yunj." Another person hesitated for a moment, but as soon as he finished speaking, everyone fell silent and dismissed this thought. What a joke. They could not even understand this report. How could a third-year high school student write it? Moreover, they had only left for half an hour. The quality of this report would take at least a month to write, right? Just as everyone thought that they had been favored by the goddess of luck, they suddenly realized something else. The report was not just handed in. This was a high-level professional report. No one could explain it on the spot with confidence. Yelena, who was the last to go up and give this report? Someone asked softly. Yelena's eyelids twitched. She felt that she was not worthy of this report. Which god was doing a good deed without leaving his name? I'll give it a try. Yelena took a deep breath and looked at the report with mixed feelings. She was really not confident. 2 to 3 days passed. Lilia's team had also finished their report and could not help but relax. While chatting, Lilia suddenly asked, "How are the preparations for Yelena's team? I don't think I've seen them recently. Who knows what they're up to? I haven't seen them for the past 2 days. Anyway, the group will be showing off this afternoon." Another girl could not help but gloat. "I also want to know what Yelena can do with a few burdens. Ha ha ha, it's a car accident. If I were Yelena, I would be so angry that I would cry. 2 of the worst in the team, and a third-year high school girl who doesn't know anything. What kind of trashy teammates are these?" Hearing these words, Lilia's lips curled up. She did not treat Yelena as an opponent, and her fear of Bei Yunj was dispelled. Lilia could not help but laugh at the thought of this. Over the past few days, he had observed Bei Yunj for a long time. Other than her pretty face, there was nothing special about her. However, Huashidu would get tired of her face sooner or later. However, it was a pity that Huashidu should have seen such a scene with his own eyes. Until the afternoon, the group presentation that everyone was nervous about was about to begin. According to the order of the draw, Bei Yunj was the last to go up to give a speech. Lilia looked at the number 4 in her hand. It was the third last speech. She laughed in surprise. Then, she glanced at Yelena and the others who had arrived late and were sitting in the last row. Suddenly, Lilia called out to the boy in front of her. "Seni, what's wrong?" Seni turned and asked. "Let's change the order of the draw. I have more content to give." Lilia placed the note 4 on the table. She wasn't worried that Seni would be unwilling. True enough. Seni was shocked to see Lilia right in front of his team. Everyone knew that Lilia's team was the strongest. If she was right in front of their team, wouldn't their team be cannon fodder? Sure. Thank you, Lilia. Seni immediately took Lilia's note. Chapter 826. Lilia held the 5 note in her hand and curled her lips thoughtfully. She inadvertently glanced at Bei Yunja's group. Bei Yun stretched out her hand casually and gently tugged at Yelena's hair. Are you done memorizing it? Yelena almost cursed. Was this something that could be memorized in 2 or 3 days? There was too much obscure professional knowledge in this report. Yelena had to check for an entire day before she could roughly understand the main points of the report. As a result, for the past 2 to 3 days, Yelena had been feeling weak when she saw this report. Looking at Yelena's gaze, Bei Yun roughly understood. She glanced at the paper report a few more times and did not find anything professional. If this was given to Tich and the others, they would probably be able to give a speech without a script in an hour. It's okay. This is our 6th speech. Good luck, Yelena. A few students beside her carefully cheered Yelena on. After all, to be honest, they did not contribute to this report at all. They only helped Yelena check some professional information. They might as well have done more than Bei Yun, who helped Yelena fetch water every day. The corners of Yelena's mouth twitched. She felt that she was already the hope of the entire group, so she could only bite the bullet and continue memorizing. However, not long after, the members of their team could not help but curse. F***ck what? I clearly saw that Lilia's lot was 4. How did it become Seni? Hearing this, the others immediately reacted. These 2 groups had secretly changed the order. If this behavior was not deliberately targeted at their group, they would not believe it. Yelena frowned and glanced at Lilia, who was chatting and laughing with someone below the stage. The professors who came to listen to the class gave the reports and speeches of the first few groups. They were not very high. U9 ebook according to the content and the score of the speech. The content was 60 points, and the speech was 40 points. The other groups only got a little over 70 points. Seni's group got 76 points, which was the highest so far. But not long after Lilia went on stage, everyone could sense that Lilia's choice of topic was very good. It was a different approach. When the professors below the stage saw the report in their hands, they could not help but nod in admiration. In the 20-minute speech, Lilia almost went off script. The professors were not in a hurry to ask questions. She directly got the highest score on the field, 87 points. The pressure on the group at the back had simply skyrocketed. After getting off the stage, there was a smile on Lilia's lips. She even glanced at Yelena and Bei Yun casually before she slowly sat down in her seat. Below the stage, there was a heated discussion because of the professor's grading. 87 points? This score was too arrogant, wasn't it? The first one starts with 8 points, and it's only 3 minutes away from 90. F***ck. Luckily we're not behind their group. Otherwise, wouldn't our score be crushed to death? This is more than being crushed to death. Don't you know the standard of Yelena's team? I don't think Yelena can write a good report by herself. I hope she doesn't fail. Serves her right. Didn't she choose the group herself? Amid the discussion, Yelena had already grasped the manuscript and walked onto the stage. He handed the printed report to the professors. The professors casually flipped through the pages, but their breathing stagnated and their hands froze. After coming back to his senses, he immediately flipped through the pages carefully, his eyes shining brightly. Subsequently, before Yelena could start her speech, the students in the front row saw from the corner of their eyes that the professors casually waved the pens in their hands. The content evaluation was given a 60 without hesitation. Chapter 827. The people in the front row, who were pleasing to the eye, held their breaths, and their smiles froze. However, the person in the back row patted one of them on the shoulder and asked with a smile, "Dan, do you think our team will definitely get first place?" Dan froze. This was the first time he saw the professors of Neely University giving full marks. I don't know. Dan was stunned. He subconsciously looked at the PowerPoint that he had just opened. Although the PowerPoint presentation wasn't as accurate as the report, it still stunned everyone who had been feeling smug just now. Who wrote this? Yelena had taken so long off Because she had returned from her cultivation? This presentation was simply too good. Lilia, look at the PowerPoint. The person beside her had an ugly expression. At this moment, Lilia looked up and saw the PowerPoint. Her calm smile froze. This is, she said instinctively. At this moment, Yelena took a deep breath and introduced her team and members to everyone before starting her speech. Although it was a little scripted, the difficulty of this report was high to begin with. It was already not easy to not stumble. After it ended, the professors calculated the average score. In the content, only one professor strictly gave 59 points. The average score was still 60 points. Including the speech, they had a total of 92 points. The only team that scored more than 90 points. Seeing this score, the fifth team could no longer laugh. Their faces were slapped. It hurt too much. Impossible. Lilia could not understand. Yelena had brought along 4 burdens alone. How could her standards have improved so much? Her thoughts stopped here. Literature. Lilia subconsciously looked at Beiyunj, but immediately interrupted her thoughts. Impossible. What did a third-year high school student know? It was not until they were praised by the professors that the sixth team felt that they had won. When the other teams saw the results, they also had mixed feelings. They had just mocked the sixth team for being at the bottom, but they did not expect them to be a dark horse. The members of the fifth team looked even worse. However, this was only the school's prediction. Whether they could really win once would have to wait for the official speech tomorrow afternoon. Yelena heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Let's go and eat something good first." The others immediately agreed. "I have something to do later. You guys go ahead and eat." As usual, Beiyunj did not participate in group activities. "All right then. Yunj, you must have a meal together tomorrow," Yelena reminded her. "All right." After they left, Beiyunj also went to pick up a package from Country R's Computing Institute. It was a big deal. Marcus must have known that Beiyunj had come to Neely University, so he had sent her to Neely University. When Beiyunj opened it, she saw a brand new silver-white laptop with the logo, HG. It was the logo of Higgins Group, and Beiyunj was going to pre-sell it in the future. Other than that, there was also a yellow folder. After opening it, it was a share transfer agreement of the Delaney Group. Beiyunj's eyelids twitched as she called Delaney again. The moment Delaney saw the note, he immediately raised his hand to stop the meeting. Just as everyone fell into a cold atmosphere and did not dare to disturb the boss call, they heard Delaney change his tone and smile ingratiatingly. "Are you busy, Master Pei?" Chapter 828. Beiyunj's eyebrows moved as her index finger tapped on the computer's casing rhythmically. Her tone was a little impatient. "Didn't I say that I don't need your company's shares? One Higgins Group was enough to deal with." During this period of time, Delaney had called 8 out of 10 times to mention joining the company. Delaney felt that Beiyunj was a little angry and instinctively glanced at the higher-ups who were looking at him. He immediately stood up and walked out, not forgetting to say hurriedly, "Master Pei, let me explain." The higher-ups who stayed behind were speechless. Was that still their arrogant and cool boss? Which god was talking to their boss on the phone? She could actually make their boss so humble. In the long corridor, Delaney explained softly, "Look, you're already helping Higgins make a product. Aren't we still old friends? How can Higgins care about you as much as I do?" At this point, Delaney felt sour. He didn't even know where Higgins had found Beiyunj. The entire academic circle in our nation was looking for her, but they had actually found her. Delaney also felt that Beiyunj was more concerned about Higgins Corporation than their company. He couldn't possibly watch the big boss run to someone else's camp, right? Beiyunj was speechless. She finally understood. Delaney was competing with Higgins. "I helped Higgins because Higgins is mine." Beiyunj's tone was calm, and she did not intend to hide it from Delaney. When Delaney heard this, his body froze. After a while, he suddenly regained his senses. "Why, you're the future heir of Higgins Corporation?" Beiyunj replied. Delaney was speechless. Good fellow. The higher-ups of Higgins were actually spreading rumors outside that the new heir was Nancy's illegitimate daughter, and that she was a good-for-nothing who knew nothing. Who the F***ck dared to treat her as a good-for-nothing? Delaney could already predict how Bae-yunj would deal with those troublemakers. He could not help but tremble. Then, Delaney made up his mind. Yunj, just sign this agreement. This will only benefit you. Moreover, Higgins had been abandoned for so long. What kind of people were there in there? I can help you. I also hope that Delaney Group and Higgins Group can always maintain friendly cooperation. Bae-yunj's thin eyelids twitched, but she didn't say anything. Actually, she knew that Delaney had helped her a lot. Soon, she said, you've given me too many shares. Change it and send a copy to my email. Hearing this, Delaney felt that happiness had come too suddenly. He was so excited that he could not speak. All right, I'll get someone to draft the agreement right away. Very soon, the interior of the Delaney Group was in an uproar because of the mysterious partner. At this time, Bae-yunj had already returned to the classroom with her laptop. He saw that the other teams were still working overtime to edit the content of the report. Bae-yunj raised her eyebrows. She quickly withdrew her gaze and left the professor. When the members of Group 5 saw Bae-yunj, their faces became even more distorted. They actually lost to such a person. What's so great about that? Why is that person so arrogant? After Bae-yunj left, someone immediately said unhappily. Another person was also indignant. That's right. If it wasn't for Yelena, this group would have been doomed, alright? Lilia's expression darkened. At this moment, the others finally realized that these words had agitated Lilia. Chapter 829. Lilia, that's not what we meant. Then what do you mean? Lilia asked in return, leaving everyone speechless. Lilia pursed her lips. Continue to change it. Such content was like trash in front of Yelena's team. I don't believe that they wrote that report themselves. Someone said angrily. But we can't prove that they didn't write that report. They were indignant, but they did not notice that a dark look flashed past Lilia's eyes. The next day, everyone came to the classroom early to prepare. Yelena also increased her practice and was sure that there would not be any problems. She moved closer to Bae-yunj and said in surprise, Yunj, how much is your computer? It looks pretty good. The texture and craftsmanship are top-notch. Someone gave it to me, Bae-yunj said casually. If you like it, I'll get them to give it to you in the future. That's not good, right? I'll give you the money. The eyelids of the other team members twitched. It was their first time seeing someone want to buy a computer, just because it was good-looking. Buy it and put it at home. Bae-yunj had always had no concept of living expenses. For example, the last time she recorded a variety show, she bought a watermelon for 100 yuan. She thought of a cheap price and asked tentatively, 10,000 yuan? With that said, everyone else's bodies trembled. They did not understand how this lousy computer was really worth 10,000 yuan. But then, Yelena was pleasantly surprised. So cheap? The team members were speechless. They really did not understand the concept of money of rich people. Just transfer some money. They don't lack money, Bae-yunj said slowly. In fact, good internet. The Nation's Computing Institute's conservative valuation of this computer was 200,000 to 300,000 yuan per unit. The design concept and various advantages were too far beyond the current technology level. It was to the extent that the manufacturers they were talking to were shocked and suspicious. Was technology so advanced now? However, after finding out what the product design was, they dispelled their worries and even bet that this product would become popular in the rich circle. This was the core model. Of course, there were also ordinary models, but the cheaper ones were more than 20,000 yuan. After Yelena transferred the money, the more she looked at Bae-yunj's computer, the more she felt that Bae-yunj was really good to her. The others gradually realized that they really didn't understand the world of the rich. For the entire morning, the other groups were rushing to finish the content. Only the sixth group was chatting, which made the other groups jealous. Team 5's face darkened. This group of people was really too arrogant. Noon. Bae-yunj and Yelena went out for dinner together. One of the members called and said that he had something to do in the afternoon and could not be there. Then the USB flash drive you left with me. The man hesitated. The key was that he had changed some of the content yesterday to make it easier for Yelena to give her speech. Bae-yunj said calmly, "Put it on my computer." "All right, sorry to trouble you." The boy heaved a sigh of relief. "It's okay. You do what you need to do." Bae-yunj didn't care too much and went to line up with Yelena to get the milk tea. But after the meal, as soon as Bae-yunj and Yelena returned, they felt that the atmosphere was not right. Everyone around them was looking at them. Team 5 looked like they were gloating, as if they were watching a good show. "Bae-yunj, did you ask Lee Jun to leave the USB flash drive with you?" Bae-yunj nodded and glanced at his table. "Yes." "Then you took the USB flash drive?" the team member asked anxiously. Bae-yunj's gaze turned cold. "No." Chapter 830. Where did you get the time to get it? Yunj and I answered the call together. "We're in the canteen." Yelena frowned and said, "Don't tell me you lost the USB flash drive?" The others remained silent. The atmosphere fell silent. The other teams pretended not to see anything. Only Team 5 was gloating. Bae-yunj did not say anything and only walked to his table. He looked around and did not see the USB flash drive. Then, Yelena called Lee Jun and confirmed that Lee Jun had left the USB flash drive on Bae-yunj's computer before he left. Who was using the classroom at noon? Bae-yunj rubbed his fingers against the computer and asked carelessly. "I think there's only Team 1 and Team 5, someone said. Then, Team 1 immediately said, "Our team went to the classroom next door after that. Besides, only 2 people from our team stayed behind. I guarantee it wasn't us." Everyone looked at Team 5. At this moment, the members of Team 5 sneered. Who's to blame for not taking good care of their own things? That's right. They can only blame themselves for not keeping a low profile. They've been smug for so long. Now they don't even have a PowerPoint. Everyone knew the importance of a PowerPoint, especially someone like Yelena, who needed to rely on a PowerPoint. Without a PowerPoint, the entire segment would collapse. Yelena's expression was ugly. The member behind her also said softly, "Team 5 has been in our classroom from the beginning to the end." Yelena said in a low voice, "Do you know that this is theft? How can we sue you? What has it got to do with us? You lost your own things and you're still pushing the blame?" Someone from Team 5 immediately stood up and said mockingly, "Do you have evidence that someone from our team took it?" Actually, there were times when Team 5 left, but they were not so kind as to tell Team 6. "What should we do? It's almost time for the speech. Can the PowerPoint be redone?" Someone asked anxiously. "Mandarin Chinese. The materials are all with Lee Jun." "It definitely won't work," another member said. "Tisk, if that report was really done by you, why don't you go off script? What's so difficult about it?" The girl beside her laughed, but her tone was full of ridicule. "That's right. Your report came from an unknown source. No one reported it. Do you think that it's so easy to get first place? Just get someone to do a PowerPoint presentation for you?" A dark look flashed across Lilia's eyes. She curled her lips and did not say anything. Suddenly, a clear and cold voice rang out. "Is no one going to admit it?" No one responded to his words. Her beautiful eyes curled up and her lips curled into a playful smile, but it was filled with hostility. "It's pretty good. Now that you're so tight-lipped, I hope that when we find out who you are, you'll cut the crap." Everyone raised their heads to look at the girl, but they were intimidated by the coldness in her eyes. His scalp went numb subconsciously. The people in Group 5 suddenly felt a little uneasy and looked at Wendy and Lilia. In their group, Wendy and Lilia were the last to leave. Actually, they were also wondering if it was done by someone from their own team. However, this matter itself was difficult to investigate. What's more, the surveillance cameras in the corridor were broken some time ago. Therefore, they didn't want to say anything. "How much longer?" Bae-yunj asked. Yelena's palms were sweating. 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, he began his speech. Everyone had to be there. Bae-yunj's beautiful eyes darkened, and she licked her red lips. "My turn." Yelena didn't think that she could control this report at all. However, she didn't want to embarrass Bae-yunj. Chapter 831. Yunj, are you confident? Yelena wanted to say something but hesitated. She changed her words to the one that would hurt Bei Yunj the least. However, Bei Yunj replied lazily, I'm alright. Yelena was speechless. The other team members were speechless. They also wanted to have Bei Yunj's calm king's mentality. Yunj, you'd better. Before Yelena could finish speaking, Bei Yunj stuffed a small cake into her mouth. Then, she lazily placed the other books on the computer and fell asleep on her stomach. She was not afraid of crushing the computer at all. She even pulled up her hood to block the sun. Yelena was speechless. It was good that she slept. When Bei Yunj fell asleep, she would secretly go up and talk. When the others saw Yelena's group hurriedly preparing another PowerPoint presentation, they could not help but have sarcasm in their eyes. How could they prepare it now? Did they think they were dead? Soon, the professors brought along two men in their 30s, like stars surrounding the moon. It was easy to imagine their identities. There were also people who were puzzled. Wasn't there only one executive from the Delaney group? What about the other one? Only Lilia stared straight at the other invigilator. She was determined to make the invigilator remember her. This time, the order was reissued. Unfortunately, Yelena drew the 5th group, and Lilia drew the 6th group. This made Lilia raise an eyebrow with a smile on her face. Wasn't it perfect that there was such a lousy person in front of her to set her off? After the speech started, although they were all students from the top universities, they were still a little nervous in front of these people. After the first speech, neither of them spoke and waited for the next one with an indifferent expression. It was obvious that these people were of no value to them. This made the later groups even more nervous. Happy. After 4 consecutive speeches, the senior executive of the Delaney group, Sheng Yuanqiu, could not help rubbing the space between his eyebrows. Were the students of Neely University only at this level now? But would that ancestor even take a fancy to him? Beside him, Duan Chuang was also wondering if he should look at other schools. However, just as their thoughts were running wild, Yelena was about to go on stage when Bei Yunj suddenly woke up. Is it my turn? Yelena. Why did he wake up at this time? Yunj, listen to me. I'm not listening. Bei Yunj stood up. Seeing that Yelena was not done, she reached out and gently pinched her cheeks. Her beautiful lips pouted, and her words could not be heard clearly. Yelena. At this very moment, seeing that it was Bei Yunj who stood up, the other teams couldn't help but laugh. This made the other two a little uneasy. Could it be that this one was even worse? At this moment, Professor, what should we do if their PowerPoint slides are lost? Wendy asked with a gloating smile. His voice wasn't loud, but the two people in front of him heard it. Sheng Yuanqiu's face darkened. He threw the documents into the trash can. How could he lose his PowerPoint presentation? How could he let him do his research without worry? This made Bei Yunj glance at her carelessly. When Wendy met her eyes, she felt inexplicably guilty, and quickly looked away. Seeing that she could not pull Bei Yunj down, Yelena was about to give Bei Yunj the simplified PowerPoint presentation that she had not finished. However, in the next second, Bei Yunj took her laptop and went on stage. Sorry, I don't need a PowerPoint presentation. Bei Yunj placed the laptop on the podium lazily and connected it to the projector. P.S. You're first in the monthly votes. Why are you so amazing today? Rub them and kiss them one by one. I'll go prepare to update. Guard the rankings obediently and send master pay up. Chapter 832. But if you need it, it's fine too. After Bei Yunj's computer was turned on, she slowly picked up the pen. Little Y office mode. Soon the people present heard a mechanical voice. It was the sound of the laptop. Roger that, master. Please select the function attribute. Bei Yunj did not even raise her eyes. Speech and explanation. Yes, master. Office mode. Speech and explanation mode has been activated. Then, Bei Yunj had just raised her face when Sheng Yuanqiu met her eyes. The pen in his hand shook and fell. Why was she here? Sheng Yuanqiu was one of the few higher-ups who knew that Bei Yunj was a partner out of nowhere. However, at this moment, when he met Bei Yunj here, his entire body froze. When he came back to his senses, Sheng Yuanxiu felt the new boss's gaze sweeping over. The back of his head felt cold. When he thought of what he had just done, he immediately walked to the trash can and began to rummage through it without caring about his image. This scene shocked the professors and students. What was going on with this big shot? Why did he start rummaging through the trash can? The assistant next to him could not stand it anymore. President Sheng, let me help you. No need. Sheng Yuanxiu immediately snatched the trash can and rummaged through it seriously. The assistant was speechless. What kind of special hobby was this? After finding the piece of paper, Sheng Yuanxiu carefully held it again. He glanced at Bei Yunj and returned to his seat. This also made Duan Chuang look at Sheng Yuanxiu with a strange expression. Bei Yunj glanced at the people present casually and said unhurriedly, "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bei Yunj, the speaker for this year's speech. My team member is Yelena." Hearing that, there was a burst of laughter from the audience. But a few minutes after Bei Yunj's speech, Huaxia Chinese everyone's expressions, which were originally there to watch the show, gradually froze. Yelena and the others felt that something was wrong. Why did it feel like she was explaining the original report? In fact, the technical terms were even more incomprehensible. Back then, because it was too deep, Yelena and the others had edited the original report. However, Bei Yunj's speech this time not only explained the original report, but also expanded into different fields. The scene made everyone's scalp go numb, however, although it was difficult to understand. As long as Bei Yunj mentioned a certain key point, the projection interface behind her would automatically push the key point to the explanation. There was also the occasional case analysis below. This was a fully automated slideshow. Yelena was stunned for a long time before she muttered, "How can a 10,000 yuan computer be of such standard?" The other team members were also shocked by Bei Yunj's inferior computer. They were speechless. 10,000 yuan was indeed a friendly price. Oh no, this was the price of a father. After a while, the students began to feel dizzy and disoriented. The smiles of the professors in front of them also gradually stiffened, as if they knew the identity of the person in front of them. Coincidentally, they had just signed a confidentiality agreement yesterday, and today, they saw this venerable one. Was he really 19 years old? Sheng Yuanxiu couldn't understand what Bei Yunj was talking about at all, but he didn't dare to ask Bei Yunj to stop. He pretended to listen attentively. Beside them, Duan Chuang wanted to shout for them to stop, but seeing that Sheng Yuanxiu seemed to understand, he could only hold it in. The lecture was coming to an end. Bei Yunj paused for a moment. This made Sheng Yuanxiu think that it was over, and almost applauded enthusiastically. But immediately after, Bei Yunj curled his lower lip and lazily connected the other end of the content. The more the professors and students listened to this content, the more familiar it sounded. However, the people in Lilia's team instantly turned pale. P.S. Second update. Chapter 833. Was Bei Yunj repeating Lilia's speech from yesterday? At this moment, Lilia felt a chill seep into her bones. The calm expression on her face had long frozen. Her spine started to turn cold. Bei Yunj's repeated speech was exactly the same as her previous speech. Lilia's team members couldn't take it anymore. They stood up abruptly and reprimanded loudly with ugly expressions. "Bei Yunj, how can you do this? You're plagiarizing our team's report." Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and said lazily, "Didn't your team copy our team's report too?" As soon as he finished speaking, the entire classroom fell silent. Indeed, when Yelena's report was released yesterday, the entire class had more or less modified it according to Yelena's team's report. Coincidentally, Bei Yunj had just left the classroom when he heard Lilia's team reading their team's report. Lilia's expression instantly turned ugly. She bit her lip and hesitated. "You can't. Bei Yunj, you did it on purpose. What does it have to do with us that your team lost their PowerPoint? If you suspect us, show us the evidence." At this moment, the professors in the front row looked embarrassed. They used their eyes to hint at them not to ignore the occasion, but at this moment, no one paid attention to him. On the other hand, Sheng Yuanxiu looked at Lilia's team in surprise. There was no warmth in his eyes. He really didn't expect that someone would dare to pick a fight in front of him. Sheng Yuanxiu smiled and pulled back the professor who wanted to stop the fight. He wasn't afraid of blowing things up at all. Aya, if a student has a misunderstanding, just say it on the spot. This matter of stealing someone else's PowerPoint is too immoral. Our Delaney group doesn't dare to accept such a person. As soon as he finished speaking, the people in Lilia's team panicked instantly. They immediately exchanged glances and decided not to admit it. They didn't want to miss such a good opportunity. Hence, 67 Wendy said sharply. Bei Yunj, who do you think you are? You're deliberately targeting our team without any evidence. If you don't give our team an explanation today, I'll go and find the vice principal. She said proudly. Not only you, but also your team members' results will be invalidated. Bei Yunj licked her canine teeth and sneered lazily. What if I find evidence? Without waiting for them to react, Bei Yunj said gently with a smile. Is the whole group withdrawing from school? As soon as he finished speaking, the professors felt a chill run down their spines. They wanted to stop the students who were shouting at Bei Yunj. Who the hell was this? Yes, if she couldn't produce evidence, would she be able to stand on the stage and provoke her so calmly? However, the next second, Wendy sneered and said confidently, if you find out who took it, then make the culprit drop out of school. What's wrong with that? Lilia's entire team seemed to have suffered a great grievance and clamored to cancel Bei Yunj's team's results. As long as Bei Yunj's results were cancelled, their team still had a chance to win first place. However, Bei Yunj casually took in everyone's expressions. She turned her head and rubbed the silver laptop in her hand. The corners of her lips curled up. Little G, I need a surveillance video of this afternoon. It's related to the non-recognizable faces. Soon, another mechanical voice that was different from the one just now sounded. It was a younger female voice. Master, please wait a moment. The system is investigating. A few seconds later, the soft female voice sounded again. Master, Little G has already intercepted unfamiliar faces for you. There are a total of 3 people. Do you want to enter the short video to check? Chapter 834. As soon as he finished speaking, the hearts of the people in Lilia's team trembled. Their bodies stiffened as they stared fixedly at the brand new computer in Bei Yunj's hands. How was this possible? Which brand of computer would have such a device? The others did not know where this black technology came from. It could even be said that it was science fiction. Thus, everyone stared unblinkingly at Bei Yunj's computer. At this moment, Sheng Yuanxiu seemed to understand why Delaney was willing to give up his shares and pull Bei Yunj to his side. He was probably going to dominate the entire field of artificial intelligence. Sheng Yuanxiu felt a chill run down the back of his head. He felt that this new boss was more and more terrifying. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and casually glanced at the nervous faces of Lilia's team. His cold and dark eyes were filled with interest. Look, his tone was slow and intimidating. Look at those reckless people. As soon as he finished speaking, in the background of the projection, 3 faces appeared on the cover video. The texture was so clear that it was hard not to admit it. The first was Li Jun from Bei Yunj's team. The second was Wendy. The third was the boy from Lilia's team who had shouted the most. Instantly, the members of Lilia's team turned pale, and their pupils constricted. The second one. Bei Yunj opened his mouth, and the second video opened. Immediately, Wendy's voice was sharp and she shouted without any care for her image. Turn it off! Turn it off! However, the projected video kept playing. The computer had long been in the testing stage and had been identified several times. It only accepted Bei Yunj's instructions. 51 aesthetic soon, everyone heard Wendy's voice. Are we really going to do this? The next moment, a voice that did not appear was also recorded. It seemed to be chatting. Forget it. First place is not that important to me. On the other hand, you will be ordered to leave Neely, right? Everyone recognized this voice. It was Lilia. From the angle of the table looking up at Wendy, one could clearly see her twisted face when she was jealous. Why can that bunch of trash get first place? We don't even know if their report is theirs. Lilia's voice was laughing. Indeed, but there's nothing we can do about it. Who says there's no way? Their USB drive is here. Isn't that an opportunity given to us by God? After that, Wendy directly took the USB flash drive. Lilia, who was beside her, seemed to be persuading her, but every word she said was retreating in order to advance. He asked Wendy to go outside the school and destroy the USB flash drive. After the short video was played, the way everyone looked at Wendy changed. Even the way they looked at Lilia was thought-provoking. She really did not expect that someone would destroy other people's things, and even think that there was no evidence. She was so self-righteous that she wanted to erase Bei Yunja's results. Bei Yunj remained expressionless. Next one. Very soon, another video entered. It was a boy from Lilia's group. After he saw Wendy leave, he walked over to Bei Yunja's computer. He sensed that Wendy had taken something, but he didn't say anything. In fact, he was the one who had shouted the loudest just now. Bei Yunj rubbed the four corners of the silver-white computer. It looked like a decorative design, but in fact, it was embedded with the most advanced pinhole miniature camera from Country R's Computing Institute. There were a total of 27 of them. Bei Yunj had specially gotten someone to modify them. The cost of each pinhole miniature camera was about a few million yuan. In order to make the most perfect angles, more than 10 of them had been destroyed. Even Marcus felt the pinch, and felt that Bei Yunj was a prodigal. Of course, such equipment would not be available for sale at that time. P.S. There are still 2 more updates. Be obedient, and hold on to Master Pei's monthly votes list. The free chapters are in the monthly votes lottery again. Obedient people can go back to the lottery. Chapter 835. Actually, very few people would be so bored as to install pinhole cameras on their computers. Unfortunately, Bei Yunj was one of the few. In her previous life, when she first joined the company, her computer was often touched by others. Bei Yunj felt that it was not clean enough, so she asked the Research Institute to install more than 10 pinhole cameras. And a few months ago, they could always catch a few people who stole business secrets. After that, no one dared to touch Bei Yunja's computer anymore. Drop out? Bei Yunja's voice ruthlessly hit their hearts. Lilia and the others stiffened, but their legs were weak. And Yelena felt that Bei Yunj was a hidden god. The technology level of this computer could be directly borrowed from a sci-fi film crew. 10,000 yuan could buy this computer, right? The other members of Bei Yunja's group started to envy Yelena. When Bei Yunj came on the first day, only Yelena was close to Bei Yunj. She had bet on the right thing. Lilia did not say anything, but no one noticed that she had just sent a text message to someone else. You. Wendy bit her lip and refused to admit her mistake. I only took your USB drive. Do you have to be so calculative? Bei Yunj did not say anything, but someone beside her said, You also know that you took someone else's USB drive? What kind of dog is this? Do you think someone owes you? These words made Wendy's face turn green and red. She glared at the girl again. Bei Yunj, actually this is not a big deal. What do you want? As long as you don't make Wendy drop out of school, I'll try my best to satisfy you. Lilia suddenly smiled. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows playfully. What if I want you to drop out of school? Instantly, the smile on Lilia's face froze. She did not expect Bei Yunj to be so ungrateful. Guangxi. However, in the next moment, someone ran in from the door panting. Lilia, and the exchange students who just arrived, please follow me to the vice principal's office. Hearing this, the other professors' expressions changed. When did the vice principal come back? The professors wanted to stop Bei Yunj, but they couldn't show it in front of the students. In the end, they could only push a professor out and quickly call Principal Worrell. The vice principal probably didn't know who this exchange student was. If he said something wrong, wouldn't all the connections they had built up all this time be for nothing? Seeing this, Sheng Yuanxiu didn't dare to act rashly. After all, Bei Yunj didn't even look at him from the beginning to the end. But he couldn't help but feel anxious. The Bei Yunj to be called Bei Yunj to be called to Bei Yunj. Then Bei Yunj must have offended the angel family this time. Yunj to Bei Yunj to be called to be called to be to be called 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 Bei Yunj of Bei the of Bei to Bei to be called to be called to Bei to be to the to be called to be called to be called to TSK. When Lilia went out just now, she looked so happy. In the corridor, Lilia looked at Bei Yunj and suppressed the jealousy in her eyes. She said word by word, "Miss Pei, you probably don't know that I'm the second daughter of the Angel family, right? You think you're smart and want to be in the limelight, but you're actually courting death." "Miss Angel," Bei Yunj spoke slowly. When Lilia turned her head, she sneered softly and said in a casual and unruly tone, "Before you say anything, you should think carefully. Who do you think you are?" As soon as she finished speaking, Lilia's face was ashen and gradually distorted. Chapter 836. At the Vice Principal's office. The moment Bei Yunj and Lilia entered, the Vice Principal walked up to Lilia enthusiastically. "Lilia, have you lost weight recently? Sit down and talk." Lilia sat on the sofa and looked towards Bei Yunj. She realized that she was already sitting on a rattan chair. The Vice Principal's expression did not look good. "Vice Principal, let's solve the problem." Lilia told him about the feud between Bei Yunj and her team, avoiding the important points and dwelling on the trivial ones. It only made people think that Bei Yunj was deliberately using her report to embarrass her in public. Lilia smiled and said, "This matter has a huge impact on my team. Vice Principal, you know what the annual recruitment season means to us." The Vice Principal's face darkened, and he did not look Bei Yunj in the eye. "Lilia, don't worry. When Mr. Angel comes, he will definitely give you a satisfactory answer." With that, he turned around and said coldly, "Student Pei, right? I wonder if your guardian can be present now, or any elder will do." Bei Yunj said slowly, "No." The Vice Principal's face darkened even more as he mocked, "Student Pei, do you think it's so easy to resolve something like this today?" Bei Yunj's eyes moved. After thinking for a moment, she chose one from the list on her phone. Soon, under the floor-to-ceiling window, Delaney, who was drinking with his legs crossed, suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He turned to look at the caller ID and shuddered. "God of Fortune." Delaney immediately picked it up. "Master Pei, what's the matter?" Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. "There's something. Neely University wants to invite my parents. But my parents aren't in our nation." Delaney's body trembled. He did not expect Neely University to be so arrogant. Invited parents? How were they going to send them back? After reacting, Delaney was inexplicably excited. So he had a chance to be a fake parent. Rounding up, it would be his daughter later. There was such a good thing. Delaney put on his suit jacket and picked up his most expensive and flashy car keys. He smiled kindly. "I understand. Everyone needs an amiable parent. Aren't I here now? Yunj, don't be anxious." Bei Yunj could sense his anticipation. He felt that something was wrong. After hanging up, Delaney had just gotten into his luxury car that was worth nearly 100 million yuan when Tich called. "What? I'm very busy." Delaney's tone was perfunctory. "Tich, Dad, today is my award ceremony. Didn't you say?" "Tich, you've grown up. It's not easy for us as parents. Don't make trouble for your father, okay?" Delaney sped all the way and hung up the phone after saying that perfunctorily. Tich. At this time, on the sofa of the Vice Principal's office, a shrewd old man sat calmly. "I'm sorry to trouble you to come here, Mr. Angel." The Vice Principal's attitude was flattering. "It's just that this matter has indeed caused a lot of harm to student Lilia." Angel turned around and saw Bei Yunj. He couldn't help but frown. Why was it her? Seeing that it was Bei Yunj, Angel hesitated. After all, it would be troublesome if he offended Fernans. However, Lilia suddenly said, "Grandpa, because of something this time, Miss Pei wants me and my friend to drop out of school." Seeing this, the Vice Principal immediately spoke up for Lilia and exaggerated Bei Yunj's evil deeds. This made Angel's expression darken as he asked in a low and dignified voice, "Miss Pei, you want my granddaughter to drop out of school? P.S. 500 monthly votes have been delivered. The monthly votes will continue to increase by 1,000. Thank you, children, for helping Master Pay surpass the rankings. First place on the monthly votes list, a new high. Let's guard the monthly votes list and send Master Pay up. Chapter 837. Angel's gaze was cold and carried the pressure of a superior. However, Bei Yunj still looked at him unhurriedly and asked, "Could it be that she's my granddaughter?" In an instant, the atmosphere became even colder. Angel's face darkened. This was the first time he had met such a daring little girl. Did she really think that she could be unbridled just because the Fernandes family had taken a liking to her? "When will the parents she called come?" Angel asked in a deep voice. "Half an hour." After the vice principal finished speaking, he said indignantly, "Old sir, don't be angry. I'm already preparing to contact Hongda High School in Yuncheng and ask her school to expel her." Bei Yunj raised her eyelids and glanced at him. Then she chuckled softly. "What are you laughing at?" Angel asked with a dark face. "Nothing. I just feel that at your age, you've reached out quite far." Bei Yunj's slow words instantly made the vice principal and Angel's faces darken. Anger was about to erupt from their chests. What did she mean by that? Was she cursing them to die early? Bei Yunj. Lilia's expression changed as well. This was the first time she had met someone who dared to speak to her grandfather like that. "Good. Very good." Angel slammed the cup on the table. "Then," he asked with a dark expression, "who are her parents?" When the vice principal heard this, he whispered to Angel in a fawning manner, "No matter how powerful they are, can they be more powerful than you?" A dark look flashed across Lilia's eyes as she reminded him softly, "Grandpa, the Bayan Manor is only 10 minutes away." Obviously, the person Bei Yunj was looking for was not Fernandes. Angel's brows relaxed. Then he had nothing to worry about. He took a deep breath and picked up his teacup again. His tone was filled with a hint of arrogance and sarcasm. "All right, since she's insensible, then let's wait for her parents to come and let them teach her how to be sensible." Not long after, the vice principal sent an email to Hongda High School, right in front of Bei Yunj, requesting that Bei Yunj withdraw from the school. However, when he turned around, he found that the man was still playing with his phone fearlessly. His attitude was particularly arrogant. "When are your parents coming?" the vice principal asked coldly. "The students are not sensible, and the parents don't have a sense of time." Angel sneered. "But don't worry, student Pei. I'll wait for your parents to arrive." Angel thought that Bei Yunj's parents didn't dare to come and were deliberately stalling for time. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a young man in a suit wearing glasses walked in. He was holding a bag and panting. He didn't look too good. Today, the boss had insisted on driving a convertible sports car. Great, it had just rained. He could only let him come to Neely University first. Miss Pei, boss is coming soon," the assistant explained carefully. She did not dare to tell Bei Yunj that Delaney had gone back to change. Bei Yunj looked up and asked, "Where is he?" "Boss asked me to come and listen first. He'll be here soon." After the assistant finished speaking, a mocking look appeared in Angel's eyes. "As a parent, you don't even dare to come?" Angel leaned against the sofa and said coldly and sarcastically, "In that case, I want to know how you want to deal with her. Your family's young lady is very good at offending people." The assistant, who had been speaking obediently to Bei Yunj, quickly got into character. He smiled meaningfully and asked, "Deal with her? She offended our Angel family. Don't you think she should?" The assistant adjusted his tie and interrupted him gently. "I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the assistant to the CEO of Delaney Group. P.S. The monthly votes have exceeded 1,000. After writing today's update, there's still a double update. The monthly votes have exceeded 1,500. Continue to update. They have been very impressive these 2 days. Master Pei is still at the top of the monthly votes list." Old Sue continued to update after guarding Master Pei's ranking. After a few chapters, Master Du should be out. Chapter 838. As soon as he finished speaking, Angel, who was still full of sarcasm, gradually stopped and looked up at him. How was this possible? He remembered that Delaney only had one son. How could he have a daughter? Besides, didn't Fernan say that this girl had no background? She was really Delaney's daughter. Was this called no background? Or, Fernan's had long wanted to marry Delaney? Angel's mind buzzed, but the assistant smiled. Before anyone else could react, he placed the gold-plated business card on the table. This is our corporation's legal number. Mr. Angel, please accept it. Then, the assistant smiled and said, the corporation hasn't fought a lawsuit for a long time. The legal team has been very free recently, so don't worry. The meaning behind his words was obvious. I'll wait for you to tear it apart. At this moment, the vice principal's expression also changed and he froze. He did not expect this exchange student to be related to the Delaney group. The scientific research field had been in a slump for the past 2 years. Before the Higgins family fell behind, the Angel family had always been the dominant one. Although the Delaney group was known as the #1 in technology, it was still a small family and a new corporation. However, for so many years, the Angel family's scientific research had not been able to cause any big waves. Therefore, when Delaney bought the patent for a sky-high price and started a new project, the Delaney group almost set off the mainstream of technology. After a beautiful turnaround, the Angel family had no way to fight back. This year's asset evaluation was on par with the Angel family's Angel group. Angel's expression did not look too good. Everyone knew that the Delaney group's legal team was definitely the best in the country. They had never failed for so many years. They used such a team to resolve campus disputes. The vice principal knew how to read people's expressions and immediately smiled. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Actually, it's all a conflict between students. There's no need to take it seriously. He beat around the bush. Mr. Delaney's career is rising now. I don't think he'll find an opponent for himself over such a small matter, right? As soon as he finished speaking, a voice sounded from outside the door. Who said it's a small matter? Everyone turned around and saw Delaney in a suit and leather shoes. He straightened his back and had 7 or 8 bodyguards behind him. His aura was oppressive. How was this a school visit? He was clearly here to cause trouble. Bei Yunj. She had asked him to come to school, so why did he bring so many people with him? Yunj, how is it? Did you suffer any grievances? Delaney did not even look at the person opposite him. He immediately showed concern for Bei Yunj with a kind gaze. Bei Yunj. No. That's good. Delaney nodded in satisfaction. When he turned around, he realized that the person opposite him was very familiar. Mr. Angel? Delaney raised his eyebrows and smiled in surprise. I didn't expect to see you here. Angel couldn't sit still either. This is your daughter? When Delaney heard that, he was secretly happy. She couldn't hide the smile on her face. How could that be? Actually, Miss Pei is considered my friend. Your friend? After Angel asked, Lilia's face froze. She didn't expect Bei Yunj to hook up with Delaney. Then before Angel could speak, the little assistant said enthusiastically, Boss, old Mr. Angel wants you to deal with Miss Pei. Chapter 839. Hearing this, Delaney's eyes turned cold as he asked with a cold smile. Deal with it? I wonder what Yunj did to make you so angry. The vice principal was the first to speak. It was Bei Yunj who wanted Lilia to drop out of school, so this misunderstanding happened. With that said, before Delaney could say anything, a retort sounded from the door. Nonsense! Everyone turned to look. It was Yelena, the principal, and Wendy who had just spoken. Wendy had only come to see how Bei Yunj had been taught a lesson. After all, Mr. Angel was already here. Wouldn't Bei Yunj lose a layer of skin? However, she did not expect the current situation to be completely different from what she had imagined. What's your name? How dare you? Before the vice principal could finish speaking, Principal Worrell's expression was livid as he interrupted him with a terrible tone. Principal John, it's been hard on you to deal with the student's matter after returning to Neely. The vice principal's gaze was evasive. When he was placed in Neely University, everyone knew that he was from the Angel family. This time, hearing Principal Worrell say this, he felt even more guilty. Principal Worrell, I just think that this student's behavior is bad, so we must. Shut up. The veins on Principal Worrell's forehead were starting to pop. Usually, it was fine if John was biased occasionally, but he could not be bothered. But now he even dared to touch him. Yelena, continue, Principal Worrell said. This matter. It's clearly because Wendy and Lilia stole our team's USB flash drive. Yelena did not hide anything, and repeated the entire matter. She added, if you don't believe me, we still have a video. Instantly, Lilia and Wendy could not stand still. Principal Worrell, my granddaughter has been studying here for 2 years. Why do you have to make such a fuss in the 3rd year? Just get Lilia to apologize and punish her. After knowing the truth, Angel changed his words and said in a low voice, I hope Principal Worrell can give me some face. With that said, the sound of a mineral water bottle being crushed abruptly rang out from the side. In the blink of an eye, he saw Bei Yunj standing up casually and throwing the crushed mineral water bottle into the rubbish bin. Her bright and languid eyes were filled with coldness. His intimidating aura made people inexplicably fearful. Without saying a word, Principal Worrell felt inexplicably terrified. Principal Worrell felt his scalp go numb. Was this a joke? If he gave Angel face, who could appease this ancestor? After regaining his senses, Worrell immediately said, John, from today onwards, you are suspended from all positions in the school. Lilia and Wendy were involved in serious matters, and were dealt with according to their own will. As an insider, Paul has seriously disrupted the school's discipline, and will be penalized once. Instantly, not only the students, but even Angel and the vice principal's expressions changed. It was clearly a small matter, so why did it become so serious? Because of Delaney? However, Delaney Group and Angel Group were still on par with each other. Why did Principal Worrell have to be so ruthless? Suddenly, Principal Worrell walked over to Bei Yunj and greeted her warmly. Hello, classmate Pei. However, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. How was your experience in school these past few days? He had almost caused trouble in just one afternoon. Bei Yunj glanced at him and smiled lazily. Not bad. Your school even sent my high school a letter of expulsion. If not for the fact that I entered high school through donations, I would have found it quite scary. P.S. Third update. Chapter 840. Principal Worrell's smile froze. If not for the fact that there were people present, he would have blown John's head off. In order to get Zhong Xinglin and Marcus to relent, how much effort had he put in? He had gone to the square for afternoon tea in the afternoon, and this dog dared to send a letter of expulsion to his school. Did he know how much he had spent to get Bei Yunj to become a professor at Neely University? I'll get someone to change it immediately. Student Pei, don't worry about this, Principal Worrell said immediately. At this moment, Delaney could not understand Bei Yunj anymore. With her standard, she even donated a building to enroll? Did the big boss have so many tricks up his sleeves? I still have something on, so I'll go back first. Bei Yunj said goodbye politely and walked out. Delaney immediately chased after her. Master Pei, are we still going to recruit people from Neely University in the future? Up to you. Just as Bei Yunj finished speaking, someone walked over. Hello, Student Pei. I'm Duan Chuang, the Deputy Chief of CI7 Neely Branch. I wonder if you're interested in CI7. Duan Chuang handed the name card to Bei Yunj. Delaney glared at Duan Chuang fiercely for poaching people back then. Duan Chuang turned around and saw Delaney's hateful gaze. This person looked familiar. No need. I won't be staying in Neely for long. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. This was the first time Duan Chuang had been rejected. He was stunned for a long time before smiling. In that case, here's my name card. You can contact me if you need anything. With that said, he handed the name card to Bei Yunj. After Duan Chuang left, Delaney said sourly, Master Pei, where did so many people come from? I don't know. Bei Yunj stuffed it into her pocket. After entering the classroom, she put the name card in Yelena's book. Coincidentally, from today onwards, she did not have to return to Neely University. In the principal's office. Principal Worrell, are you going to embarrass the Angel family like this? Angel's expression turned ugly. Don't you already know what your granddaughter has done? Worrell asked. But that's my granddaughter, Headmaster Worrell. Are you willing to side with the Dreenii and offend me? Angel questioned. Worrell took off his glasses and said calmly, as an academic, I don't understand the conflict between you and Delaney. But I'm on Bei Yunja's side this time, not any of you. Hearing this, Angel suddenly froze. He asked instinctively, what's so scary about Bei Yunj? Worrell looked at him deeply. She's the one you should be most afraid of. As a friend, I have to remind you not to provoke her. Otherwise, you will find that no one can help you when the time comes. After that, Worrell ordered them to leave. When they returned to the classroom, everyone realized that Lilia had really transferred schools. She was transferred to an aristocratic school that the Angel family had invested in. At the door, Wendy grabbed Lilia's hand in a sorry state. Yaya, can you bring me along? I've been expelled too. I don't know where to go. Lilia's face darkened as she flung her hand away. Her eyes filled with disgust. Bring you along? Can you afford the tuition fees of an aristocratic university? Wendy's face turned pale. Just as Lilia was about to leave, Wendy gritted her teeth and said, But I can help you do anything. As long as you help me. Lilia suddenly stopped in her tracks, a dark look flashing across her eyes. P.S. Fourth update, I'm making up for it. Be obedient and vote more monthly to stabilize Master Pay's ranking. It's easy to drop in the first few days of the month. Old Sue will go and make up for it first. Thank you for your support. Chapter 841. Lilia's eyes were filled with resentment and indignation. She did not expect that Bei Yunj, who did not have any family backing him, could really make her drop out of school. Principal Worrell had even eliminated the Angel family's connections in Neely University. In the future, it would be even more difficult for the Angel family to do anything. She glanced at Wendy coldly and suddenly smiled. Sure, I'll pay for your tuition until you graduate. How about that? On the road, Bei Yunj looked at the computer in his hand again and held it in. You're really heavy, do you know that? With that, Bei Yunj realized that the system was installed in the computer and would not automatically turn on. He had to make it as soon as possible, no matter how much it cost. At this moment Marcus called. Bei Yunj placed the laptop on the stone tiles of the flower bed. As soon as the call connected, he heard Marcus ask, Gu-er, have you tried the dual system outside? He had received several calls in the afternoon, all asking about the new product. The dual system was a project that Bei Yunj had been working on since his previous life. However, the original product was a dual system robot. The Y system was a normal system, but its level was beyond current scientific research. As for the G system, it was an in-depth model. Not only was it extremely private to the user, but some of its hidden functions were terrifying. Most importantly, the Gemini system could accurately recognize human emotions and language. Its imitation ability had reached the peak of artificial intelligence. Bei Yunj replied leisurely, It's too heavy. When can we get the materials? Marcus' eyelids twitched. Do you really want such good special materials? Bei Yunj's special materials to make a robot were hard to come by. Otherwise if it breaks, we'll have to make another one. Bei Yunj added, It's very expensive. Marcus was speechless. Why didn't you consider the price when you were playing with more than 20 miniature pinhole cameras on the computer? Marcus put on a fake smile. But I think Gu-er, with the cost of the materials you want, you can make dozens of robots for fun. Bei Yunj pretended not to hear her and asked again, When will it be available? Marcus, wait for another 2 weeks. It will take time for their materials to be simulated to the standard you need. Bei Yunj replied, Okay, I plan to let Higgins do the project. I'll go over to take a look in the next 2 days. All right. Marcus also knew that Bei Yunj was the heir of Higgins' group. He didn't forget to say, Remember to prepare for the award ceremony the day after tomorrow. Yes, Higgins' group. Mai Weiyu walked into Shang Yan's office and threw the report on the table. Her eyes were filled with anger. Why aren't you willing to change this project? Shang Yan's tone was indifferent and natural. Only she has the final say in her project. My Weiyu pursed her red lips. Her eyes were filled with sarcasm as she laughed. An outsider wants to take down Higgins? My Weiyu was the illegitimate daughter of the second head of the Higgins family. She had only been recognized by the second head of the Higgins family 5 years ago, because of her business and research abilities. However, her name had never been changed. Shang Yan. How do you think a young girl like her has the capital to fight against the people in the family? My Weiyu smiled and couldn't hide the jealousy in her tone. Or do you have other reasons for helping her? P.S. Fourth update. Chapter 842. It was as if he was born to be the center of attention. The smile on Bei Yunja's lips could not be hidden as she quickly ran towards him. Seeing this, Huashidu immediately reached out and held the young lady's shoulders. He let her hug his waist. The man looked down at her. His laughter was low and hoarse. It was so gentle and ambiguous that it made her blush and her heart race. Why are you running? You didn't bring an umbrella? Huashida's slender and well-defined hand touched her black hair. It was a little wet. It's only a short distance from the airport. Hence, she did not have time to open an umbrella and ran over. The people not far away could not help but take a few more glances at the two of them. Indeed, the airport was a good place to torture single people. Huashida glanced at her a few times, then watched as Bei Yunj suddenly took away his luggage. Her bright and beautiful eyes were a little serious. Brother, I'll help you carry it. But as soon as she finished speaking, it just so happened that not far away, someone rushed over recklessly. Huashida's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He hugged the young lady's waist and easily turned his head to place her on the steps. Then he took the luggage. Bei Yunj was like a human-shaped doll as she was carried to the side. Sir, I'm sorry. I was in a hurry and bumped into your girlfriend. That person apologized sincerely. The man glanced at Bei Yunj. Then, he turned his head and curled his lips casually. Okay, be careful next time. Bei Yunj. Then, before Bei Yunj could react, she had just raised her head when the light in front of her was blocked. Huashidu pulled down his scarf and slowly tied it around Bei Yunj. He stared at her for a while and suddenly bent down. Brother, take a look. The man's deep and magnetic voice was not serious. It was frivolous and gentle. Brother's little girlfriend, have you lost a little weight? She was surrounded by his warm and pleasant scent. The man's gaze was even more intense. Bei Yunja's ears instantly burned. She shrank into the scarf and turned her head away. Seeing this, Tian, Huashida did not continue to tease the little girl and brought her back to the hotel. Brother, you're not going to meet old Mr. Fernance? Bei Yunj asked. You've seen him? Huashidu asked. Bei Yunja's attention as she looked at the scenery outside. You'll see him sooner or later. The man's answer was not clear. Bei Yunj did not dwell on this question. Instead, she smelled the familiar and pleasant cold scent on the scarf and felt a little relieved unconsciously. Huashidu also noticed the redness in her eyes. Before Bei Yunj could react, the man's warm and dry palm covered her forehead and brought her to his side naturally. Sleep, sleep. I'll call you when we get there. Bei Yunj leaned against the man's leg and looked at Huashidu for a while before she turned away. Looking Huashida still did not know what Bei Yunj was thinking. He quite liked the little girl's occasional actions. He only took a thin blanket to cover her and rubbed his fingers against her cheek affectionately. Good night, Yunyan. Just as they were about to get out of the car, Sang-Soo received several messages, all of which were sent by that person. He did not know who had revealed that Master Du was coming to Neely. Sang-Soo groaned in his heart. He only hoped that he would not bump into that young lady. Unexpectedly, he bumped into her the moment he got out of the car. Outside the hotel, there was a long corridor to shelter them from the rain. Where is Huashidu? Lilia gritted her teeth and made up her mind to tell him about Bei Yunj. P.S. Master Pei, I came at a bad time. I can only feed you some dog food to express my sincerity. Thank you, darlings, for helping Master Pei maintain the monthly votes. Chapter 843. The moment Sang-Soo got out of the car, he was blocked by Lilia. He immediately stopped Lilia. Miss, Master Du doesn't want to see anyone yet. Lilia pursed her lips and looked at Sung Su coldly. Get out of the way. Miss, don't make things difficult for me. Sung Su's tone was gentle, but he had no intention of letting her go. Seeing this, Lilia suddenly rushed to the back seat. But not long after, she was stopped again. You. Lilia was exasperated. Suddenly, the back door slowly opened. Lilia looked up and saw a handsome and dignified man walking out with his long, straight legs under his black suit pants. Before she could speak excitedly, the man turned around. His clear and lazy eyes were filled with gentleness, and his thin red lips curled up. She saw with her own eyes that the man, who had always been indifferent and unapproachable, leaned forward and carefully held the young girl in his arms. It was as if he was hugging a precious treasure. Lilia's smile froze completely as her gaze landed on the person in his arms. Bae-yunj. Lilia's expression was ugly. She did not expect to see this scene with her own eyes one day. The man only glanced at her casually, his gaze never on her. Then, just as Hwashidu was about to leave, Lilia suddenly said, Hwashidu, this woman is not that simple. She clearly knows Delaney, and she even forced me to drop out of Neely University. Lilia gritted her teeth as she said the last sentence, her eyes dark and indignant. Hwashidu stopped in his tracks. Then, just as Lilia was overjoyed, she suddenly heard the girl's clear and lazy voice. Brother, have we arrived at the hotel? Bae-yunj leaned lazily against the man's chest, her beautiful eyes sleepy. Every time she leaned against him, she would fall asleep quickly. The quality of her sleep was very good. Yes, we're here. Do you want to sleep in the room for a while more? The man lowered his voice and laughed as he asked in her ear. However, the man's voice was magnetic and hopelessly sexy. Sung Su, who was beside her, could not bear to watch this scene. He only pitied Lilia for a few seconds. Did he have to cause trouble when Master Du and young Miss Pei were together? What was the point? When Miss Pei was by Master Du's side, did Master Du have eyes for anyone else? Lilia's expression was extremely ugly. Subsequently, Bae-yunj also caught a glimpse of Lilia and raised her eyebrows. After the two of them looked at each other for a few seconds, Bae-yunj suddenly laughed. She lazily leaned against the man's chest, raised her fair and slender arms, and hooked them around his neck. She gently raised her head and rubbed against the man's perfect jawline in an ambiguous and ticklish manner. It was a straightforward declaration of sovereignty. Brother, my waist hurts from being in the car for so long. Bae-yunj's red lips curved upwards. Her lazy voice was just the right amount of flirtatious. You have to help me rub it. It was so seductive that it made people's blood boil. Their faces blushed and their hearts beat faster. At the same time, the man's eyes darkened. Even Sung Su felt that this conversation made him blush. As expected, when Lilia thought of how an ascetic and noble man like Hwashidu would do such an outrageous thing in the car, her face turned pale. She gritted her teeth and looked at Bae-yunj. Bae-yunj was still careless, as she drew circles on the man's chest with her fingertips. Brother, don't keep quiet. Who knew? The next moment, the man's eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. He slowly swept his gaze over her. Sung Su, just one room is enough. Bae-yunj's smile froze. P.S. When Master Du came out, our monthly votes started to drop. Don't you all like Master Du? The monthly votes ranking is dropping. Be good and work hard to send Master Pei to the front row. Pinch. The monthly votes reached 2,000 plus chapters. Because the management children were disobedient, they spent a few hundred monthly votes. Chapter 844. Sung Su wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he turned around calmly. Yes. Bae-yunj also looked at Sung Su, but Sung Su seemed to have eyes on the back of his head, and immediately ran in. Bae-yunj. Hwashidu, Bae-yunj is already so good at seducing men at such a young age. Even Delaney. Lilia's face darkened as she spoke. Suddenly, the man's voice interrupted her. His pale-colored eyes lost their warmth, and his usually gentle and light voice was a little cold. Miss Angel, do you really think that the Angel family can protect you? Lilia froze. Hwashida's meaning was obvious. If she continued, he would not give the Angel family any face. But this was all for a woman. Isn't it good for our two families to have a marriage alliance? Why did you choose such a flirtatious woman? How is she? Get lost. As soon as he finished speaking, Lilia could not react. Huashidu was the one who said that. The man's peach blossom eyes, which used to be lazy and attractive, were now filled with coldness. His tone was flat and light. If you don't get lost, no one can save you. Even Bei Yunj looked up at him. This was the first time she saw him really angry. The Hua family's good upbringing made the man's every move seem refined and polite. She had never heard him say this word. As soon as he finished speaking, Lilia's expression did not look too good, but she did not dare to say anything. After all, even Fernand's went along with Huashida's temper. At this moment, Huashidu carried the person in his arms and went straight to the top floor of the hotel. In the elevator, Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. Brother, it's a little hot. There was a heater in the hotel. She was wrapped in a blanket and a scarf. Who knew? The man glanced at her casually. He seemed to have thought of something, and his thin red lips suddenly curled up. His deep voice was a little charming as he said slowly, "What's the hurry? Go back to your room and take it off." Bei Yunj? ? Wasn't there something wrong with his words? Huashidu sensed the young lady's gaze and pretended not to see it. As the elevator approached the top floor, Bei Yunj's heart inexplicably beat faster. She licked her lips. Brother, why don't I go back and get my own room? No need. Big brother will rub it for you when we get back. The handsome and noble man's smile was charming. His magnetic and lazy voice echoed in her ear, and it was so flirtatious that it was burning hot. Try your best to make our union comfortable. Bei Yunj. In the presidential suite, the rain outside had also gradually stopped. From the top floor, one could see the scenery of the city outside the window. After watching for a while, Bei Yunj turned around and saw the man taking off his suit jacket. Are you serious? Bei Yunj looked at him for a while and narrowed her beautiful eyes. She suddenly smiled and said, Brother, you have to be gentle. Otherwise you'll leave a mark. After that, Bei Yunj really took off her windbreaker. Inside, she was wearing a spaghetti strap dress. Normally, Bei Yunj would not dress like this when she went out. However, she had made it this morning, so she casually put on a khaki windbreaker. After taking off his coat, the girl had black hair and snow-white skin. The wine-red satin nightgown made her skin look as cold and fair as jade. Her calves were so fair that they were dazzling. A certain someone who was about to go to work. The man's gaze darkened silently. Then, Bei Yunj even brushed her black hair aside, revealing her back. Her slender fingers caressed the zipper at the back of her dress. Brother, do you need me to open it? P.S. Master Pei, who can't take any provocation, is starting to cause trouble again. The monthly votes are 2,000. I'll add more later. Old Su continued to write. Chapter 845. The girl's back was facing him. She turned her head halfway and brushed her black hair with one hand, while her other slender and fair hand tried to pull down the zipper. Suddenly, the man lowered his eyes and restrained the dark emotions in his eyes. He was extremely tempted. His low and magnetic voice sounded casually. Yunyan, if you take it off later, you might not have the strength to wear it. Instantly, these words made the girl's fair hand stop. Bei Yunj's clear and beautiful eyes stared straight at him. After a while, beside the sofa, Bei Yunj rested her chin on her arms and leaned against the sofa. Her bright eyes were lazy, and it was obvious that she was extremely comfortable. However, the man was not that comfortable, especially when the softness in his hand made his Adam's apple tighten. Perhaps it was because it was comfortable. Huashidu could occasionally hear the girl's comfortable moans. The man's sexy Adam's apple bobbed, and even the mole that made people blush trembled slightly. He laughed hoarsely. Is it that comfortable? Brother, use more strength. Bei Yunj was initially quite resistant, but when she really got started, her entire body softened, and she instructed in a lazy tone. Huashidu. He lowered his eyes and chuckled softly. He listened to her and used more strength. However, Not long after, the girl turned back to look at him. Brother, you can use more strength. Huashida looked up and saw Bei Yunj looking at him seriously. She was so comfortable that her eyes were watery. However, the man's eyes darkened unconsciously. His eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. Bei Yunj felt that the man's gaze was a little fixed, but her brain could not react for a moment. The next moment she was about to ask. The man's warm palm wrapped around her slender waist. He did not increase his strength, but instead became even gentler. His slender and well-defined palm caressed every part of her waist, bringing about a tingling and numbing electric current. For some reason, the temperature was a little hot. It was so ambiguous that it made people blush. Bei Yunj's body trembled unconsciously. Do you want me to use more strength? The man's pair of usually lazy and cold peach blossom eyes revealed a hint of profoundness as he gloomily stared at her back. His tone still seemed to be indifferent. The strength on her waist was neither heavy nor light, but it was enough to make her legs go soft. Following that, it was a man's languid voice that revealed some kind of emotion. His low and hoarse chuckle was a little deep and blatantly seductive. But what if she cries? What should we do? Bei Yunj looked up and saw that the man's eyes were so dark that even the light could not be seen. Danger was lurking everywhere. However, the naughty and lustful feeling made her ears burn, and she subconsciously avoided his gaze. Suddenly, without thinking, Bei Yunj grabbed the man's hand to stop him from massaging her. However, the little deer in her heart had long panicked and was stumbling all over the place. The two of them looked at each other. The man's eyes were good-looking to begin with, and the corners of his upturned eyes were a little attractive. When he looked straight at her, it was as if he could transmit a kind of explicit and burning feeling, burning her heart. Soon, he lowered his eyes and suppressed some kind of emotion. His Adam's apple bobbed. Child, don't look at me like that next time. Huashida licked his lips and said in a low and sexy voice, You'll be afraid. As soon as he finished speaking, Huashida was about to leave, but the other fair and tender hand on his wrist did not let go. He looked at her for a while, and his low and magnetic laughter was a little hoarse and seductive. You really don't want me to leave? Chapter 846. Before Bei Yunj could speak, the man leaned forward. The man suddenly leaned forward, and Bei Yunj instinctively placed a hand on his firm chest. However, she could feel his scorching body temperature and beating heart under the man's thin white shirt. She looked up and met his unwavering gaze. She could see the lazy smile in his dark eyes. It was explicit and passionate. Bei Yunj froze as if she had been scalded. She instinctively wanted to retract her hand, but the man casually grabbed the back of her hand. Huashida's peach blossom eyes were slightly raised, and the coldness in them dissipated. His lazy posture was ostentatious and ambiguous, and the corners of his lips curled into a cynical smile. Brother, you, before she could finish speaking. The next moment, the man turned over her white and tender palm. His warm and cool fingertips rubbed her fingers from time to time, making her heart itch and numb. Suddenly he bent down slightly. His thin lips gently kissed her palm. Suddenly, the warm touch on her palm, accompanied by a numbing feeling, shot straight up to the back of her neck. Her ears were burning hot. Even her mind was empty. A simple palm kiss made her blush. It was so tempting that her legs turned weak. However, the man was still smiling seductively. His magnetic voice was bewitching, low and hoarse with some kind of uncontrollable desire. He was asking her for help. Yun, I want to feel more comfortable too. What should I do? In an instant, Bei Yunj woke up. Her heart was beating unbelievably fast. She immediately withdrew her hand and got off the sofa. She looked like she was fleeing. In the man's eyes, the little girl looked like she was about to explode. Huashida did not go to the study to work. Instead, he went to take an hour-long cold shower. After returning to the room, Bei Yunj could not get rid of the plot in her mind. She did not know why, but every time she was in Huashida's hands, she would run away. This also made Bei Yunj feel embarrassed for the first time. Coincidentally, at this moment her cell phone rang. Bei Yunj glanced at it and calmed down before answering the call. There will be a gathering after the award ceremony tomorrow. Do you want to? I'm not going. Bae-yunj refused simply. Si Qingyan was speechless. Why did the old man always give him such hard work? Where's Mr. Zhong? Bae-yunj suddenly remembered that she hadn't seen Zhong Xinglin recently. When Si Qingyan heard this, he immediately smiled mysteriously. Do you know? Elder Zhong, Dean Zhou, and Stephen were taken by Marcus for a hair transplant. Bae-yunj, what kind of messy team-building project was this? You'll see it tomorrow. Don't expose her, Si Qingyan reminded. Bae-yunj's eyelids twitched. Sure. Afternoon. When she went out, Bae-yunj found more than 20 sets of clothes on the sofa, all of which were brands she usually wore. Qin Yu called and asked me to take you to dinner. Huashida glanced at Bae-yunj, who had just come out of the bedroom, and said. Bae-yunj looked at the calm Huashidu and raised an eyebrow. Okay. Soon. After she changed her clothes and followed Huashida downstairs, she turned around and accidentally touched the man's hand. Only then did she feel that his temperature was a little too cold. Brother, why are you so cold? Bae-yunj asked without thinking. Hearing this, the man glanced at the instigator carelessly and licked his itchy teeth. He chuckled. Otherwise, why would I take you out? P.S. Additional monthly votes added chapter. Thank you for helping Master Pay. The monthly votes ranking is still unstable. Are there any children who can move their fingers? Pinch. Old Sue continued to update. Chapter 847. At first, Bae-yunj did not react. But when she realized what was going on, she froze. So, just now, he had a physiological reaction, so he went to take a cold shower? Bae-yunj thought of the temperature of the man's hand when she touched it just now. It was cold. It did not seem like he had only taken a shower for a while. Bae-yunj looked at the man's handsome side profile for a while. For some reason, her heart beat erratically. She slowly took a step to the side. Huashidu, who saw this scene, was speechless. After a while, Huashidu was a little angry and laughed out loud. Then he laughed in a low and sexy voice. Child, where did I find such a heartless person like you? Bae-yunj did not speak. Soon the two of them got out of the elevator. Huashida had just walked out when he saw Bae-yunj running out. He thought that the little girl was shy, but not long after, Sing-su asked in confusion. Master Du, where is Miss Pei? Shouldn't the two of them come down together? After asking, Sing-su felt that something was wrong again, so he looked at Huashidu with a meaningful gaze. Could it be that Miss Pei did not have the strength to get up soon? Huashida's unhurried gaze swept past him coldly. Sung-su stopped imagining things obediently. Wait for her to come back. Huashida stood in the hall. He was wearing an exquisite black suit and a black and gray windbreaker, making him look tall and slender. The corners of his upturned eyes were charming, and his pale-colored pupils were light and lazy. About 10 minutes later, Huashidu saw a figure walking over from the door. Bae-yunj was wearing a black hat and mask. She was holding a transparent plastic bag and waving at them. Let's go. Huashida smiled. After getting into the car, the man had just sat in the back seat when the little girl beside him started to open the plastic bag. What is this? Huashida asked. Bae-yunj answered him leisurely as she tore it open. Your little heartless girl bought you a thermal pad. Soon, Bae-yunj warmed up a thermal pad and turned her head naturally. She pulled open the man's windbreaker and unbuttoned his suit jacket. But she didn't notice that the man's eyes were unfathomable, staring straight at her. If you stick it here, you shouldn't get burned. Bae-yunj muttered to himself. Huashidu allowed the young lady in front of him to touch him. However, not long after, Bae-yunj inadvertently touched the man's tight and sexy abs. They were hard and firm. After a few seconds, Bae-yunj realized what it was. But soon after, a hint of interest flashed through her bright and beautiful eyes. Just as she was about to touch it again, Yi Zichen stopped her. The man's indifferent and deep voice seemed to be deliberately teasing her eardrums. Yin, there's no way to take a cold shower in the car. After saying this, Bae-yunj immediately stopped. She glanced at the lazy and handsome man and finished pasting the last one on him. Obviously, she didn't want to talk to him anymore. But in the next moment, Bei-yunj was about to retract her hand when the man grabbed her wrist again. She looked up and saw the man's slender and well-defined hand, casually picking open his windbreaker and suit jacket. He placed her hand on the spot that Bei-yunj wanted to touch just now. Even through the thin white shirt, the touch still made her blush and her heart race. "Didn't you say that you won't let me touch you?" Seeing that the little girl beside him was still pretending to be obedient after taking advantage of him, the man couldn't help but chuckle hoarsely. P.S. All right, now that Master Du has appeared, our monthly votes are really getting fewer and fewer. The old man shouldn't have appeared. Chapter 848. His lazy and magnetic voice was ostentatious and straightforward, as if he was blatantly seducing her. "How can I let our union bear a grudge? Next time, if brother is cold, who will buy the thermal pads for brother?" Huashidu was still holding her hand, afraid that the thermal pads on his suit jacket would be too hot. Bei-yunj's face inexplicably heated up, but she could not retract her hand. But on the way, Bei-yunj's mind was filled with Huashidu holding her hand, and she could not ignore the warmth on her hand. The man's ambiguous low laughter made people blush. "Isn't Big Brother's hand hotter than Union's?" Bei-yunj's ears instantly burned, and she froze a little. Who could stand this D*Imin man's unrestrained flirting? It was clearly an emotionless sentence, but when it came out of his mouth, it could instantly make one's hair stand on end. After parking the car, Bei-yunj quickly broke free from the man's hand and got out of the car first. Seeing this, Huashidu only smirked, his fingers caressing the thermal pads the little girl had just bought for him. Soon, Huashidu and Bei-yunj saw Qinyu with several staff members following behind him. "Guer, Master Du." With that said, Qinyu reached out and hugged Bei-yunj. "Baby, are you cold? Why don't you answer second brother's calls?" This scene made Huashida's gaze land on him carelessly. It was a little dark and unreadable. "I'm not cold." Bei-yunj wanted to break free, but Qinyu hugged her too tightly. "Qinyu, someone is calling you," the man on the side said unhurriedly. Hearing this, Qinyu let go of Bei-yunj carelessly. Bei-yunj slipped behind Huashidu and held the man's sleeve with one hand. Qinyu did not see anyone, but when he turned around, he saw this situation. He seemed to be the outsider. Qinyu looked at Huashidu instinctively, only to see him looking at him carelessly with a faint smile in his eyes. It seemed to be a provocation. Qinyu was speechless. "Let's eat, let's go eat first." In the end, the manager, who knew how to read people's expressions, immediately broke the stiff atmosphere. On the way, Qinyu walked beside Huashidu and glanced at Huashida's thin windbreaker. He was only wearing a suit inside and could not help asking, "Is this windbreaker so good at blocking the wind?" Huashidu replied calmly, "It's all right." Qinyu was wearing a low-collared sweater and couldn't help but shrink his neck. "Then aren't you cold?" Huashidu slowly lifted his suit jacket, revealing the unqualified thermal pads. "It's all right. It's quite warm." His tone was calm and composed, but it gave people a feeling that he was showing off. "Bei-yunj," Qinyu was curious. "You use such a thing too?" "Yes." After Huashidu finished speaking, he casually glanced at the young lady beside him. Suddenly, his thin lips curled up and his voice was deep and happy. "I quite like it." Qinyu even snorted, a sneer appearing on his handsome and superior face. He then gestured for Huashidu to look at his torn jeans. His low voice was filled with confidence. "Master Du, what's the matter with you? You're even using thermal pads in this weather?" "Who knew?" The man smirked, his tone light and flirtatious. Someone's heart aches for you." Bei-yunj's back froze immediately. However, Qinyu had yet to react. What did this mean? "What do you mean?" Qinyu asked instinctively. On the other hand, the most silent manager at the side seemed to have suddenly understood. He looked at Bei-yunj, who had a slightly strange expression on his face. "P.S. I'm dealing with the infringement of this book. I'm sorry that I'm not in a good state," and wrote slowly. "I'll ask for some monthly votes for Master Pay first. I'll see if I can continue writing." Chapter 849. Then, The manager could not help but turn back to look at Hoshidu, a bold thought appearing in his mind. His eyes widened as his thoughts drifted away in disbelief. Especially when he saw that Chinyu was still clueless, the manager had mixed feelings. Should I give this guy a warning? However, this person always mocked him for being short. Was he letting himself down by doing this? The manager was hesitant. In the dining room, seeing Hoshidu and Bei Yunj sitting opposite each other naturally, the manager could not help but look at Chinyu. Chao-hung, come eat more. Sitting in his seat, Chinyu handed the curry prawns to the manager. Then, just as the manager was very touched, and was about to tell Chinyu secretly, he heard Chinyu laugh. I hope you can still grow taller. Don't keep making people think that I'm using child labor. Chao-hung was speechless. King deserved to have your sister snatched away. Chao-hung took the plate of curry prawns expressionlessly and said nothing. When they were about to finish eating, Bei Yunj received a call from Marcus. Hello. Guer, do you want to? Before Marcus could finish speaking, Bei Yunj rejected him politely. Thank you, but I don't plan to do it yet. Then Marcus, who had been hung up by Bei Yunj, was speechless. Which little brat went out to spout nonsense again? Soon, Bei Yunj received another message from Marcus. This was to ask Bei Yunj to send them an address. The people from Country A would come and pick her up in the afternoon to protect Bei Yunj's safety tomorrow. A dark look flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes, and she glanced at Hoshidu. In that case, she could not stay with him. Bei Yunj licked her lips and said nothing. It was only after lunch that Hoshidu walked to his side, when he was about to go to the nearby building to work. Brother, today Bei Yunj's eyes landed not far away. I want to stay with my second brother. With that said, Bei Yunj did not notice anything, but the man's eyes darkened imperceptibly. Yes, after all, he was the child's biological brother, so he had no right to stop him. Hoshidu bade farewell to the young lady and returned to the car. His slender fingers opened the cigarette box and lit a cigarette. A pair of pale-colored, ascetic eyes were filled with laziness and alienation. Master Du, let's go, Dijo Tower. The moment Hoshidu finished speaking, a hint of surprise flashed across Tsing-Su's eyes. He wanted to say something but hesitated. Yes, Tsing-Su replied. At the filming location, everyone was very surprised to see Chinyu with a young girl. Wasn't this girl too beautiful? Only Chinyu's assistant recognized her. This was Brother Yu's biological sister, the eldest daughter of the Chin family, Bei Yunj. Miss Pei. The little assistant hurried forward to greet him. Yes, Bei Yunj responded and glanced at the gloomy castle. Why did he choose such a place to shoot a music video? All of a sudden, did you guys prepare anything for our sister Ran? The waist of this dress is so thin, who can wear it? A female assistant walked out and questioned arrogantly. Do you not want to work anymore? This dress was prepared for the female lead of Chinyu's music video, Hanyu. Hanyu was not considered popular, and was at most a B-list actress. However, her sugar daddy was willing to spend money on her. Hence Yang Xian, who was in charge of the company, turned a blind eye and arranged for her to be the female lead for Chinyu. P.S. We'll continue in the afternoon. Good night. Chapter 850. Chinyu did not care about this, and had already gone to check the set equipment. After that, the assistant glanced at Bei Yunj, and her expression darkened. What do you mean? Did you choose a female lead? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Beside her, Chinyu's assistant took a deep breath and said with a smile. No, Sister Wen, you're thinking too much. This is Brother Yu's woman. How would Chinyu's assistant dare to let Sister Wen know that Bei Yunj was Chinyu's sister? During this period of time, hadn't there been a lot of trending searches about them kidnapping Chinyu? If she found out that Bei Yunj was Chinyu's sister, she might be caught talking to Bei Yunj the next day. At that time, the headlines would be, #Hanyu and Chinyu's sister have a harmonious relationship. Hanyu is suspected to have been acknowledged by Best Actor Chin's sister. Can't you turn on more lights? Bei Yunj glanced at the darkness around her. and pretended not to hear Sister Wen's words as she asked in return. "Young lady, there are a lot of lights here. Come and sit here." The MV director suddenly waved at Bei Yunj excitedly, his eyes shining. The assistant was speechless. Another person who wanted to lure Miss Pei into the industry. Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment before walking over. Just as expected, the director immediately asked, "Young lady, have you considered developing in the entertainment industry?" Bei Yunj said calmly, "No." The director was speechless. This was his first time meeting someone who rejected him so directly. "It's all right. This is my business card. You can contact me when you've thought it through." The director handed his business card to Bei Yunj. The assistant was speechless. If Bei Yunj wanted to debut, she still had to rely on him? "Chin, you could bring this elder young lady to work every day, all right?" However, seeing this, Sister Wen's expression darkened. Pursing her lips, she took the dress back. On the other side, a beautiful woman was lying on the bench. "You, those people don't take us seriously at all." Sister Wen was indignant. "No one said that they would change our dresses. Besides, Best Actor Chin even brought a young and beautiful woman here." His girlfriend? Han Yu's eyes darkened. "Who knows?" Sister Wen sneered. "Film Emperor Chin is also the son of a rich family. Must the person by his side be his girlfriend? But I've heard before that Film Emperor Chin's private life is very disciplined. Now I see that it's all a lie. Give me the dress." Hani reached out and took the dress that Sister Wen handed over. A glint flashed across his eyes. "Accompany me to change my clothes. I need to put on my makeup later." You aren't you angry?" Sister Wen asked. "What's there to be angry about? Let's go see her later." Han Yu stood up and went to the changing room. She was just a little girl. Was it that difficult to deal with her? Han Yu's eyes were filled with mockery and indifference. Not long after, Bei Yunj saw a woman in a gorgeous long dress walking over. But soon, Bei Yunj looked away and continued to play on the maps of the gods. But when Han Yu saw this, her exquisite face revealed a trace of collapse. She knew that Qin Yu's taste would not be too bad. However, the young girl in front of him was so beautiful that her eyes were aggressive, making him fall into a trance. But her attitude was unbelievably cold. Han Yu pursed her lips, feeling a little uncomfortable as she sat at the side. "Wen, get me some water." At this moment, the makeup artist beside Han Yu was still helping her put on makeup. But in the next moment, Han Yu asked Bei Yunj, "Miss next to me, do you have time to do me a favor? I can't move. Can you help me get my shoes? P.S. Here it comes, good guys. Thank you, children, for helping Master Pei get first place in the monthly votes ranking for now. If you work hard, can Master Pei get first place this month? Pinch." Chapter 851. With that said, Qin Yu's assistant knew that things were not that simple. To put it bluntly, wasn't she asking Bei Yunj to carry her shoes for her? Qin Yu's assistant smiled and stood up immediately. "Sister Yu, let me get it for you." "Who knew?" The manager beside Han Yu suddenly stopped her. "Huang Ke, your Best Actor Qin's woman. If you take care of Sister Yu, others will think too much." Huang Ke's expression darkened immediately. If Bei Yunj did that, Qin Yu would tear Han Yu apart. At this thought, Huang Ke was about to speak when Han Yu suddenly laughed. "I'm Qin Yu's female lead. No matter what, I'm still his colleague. Miss, is it difficult to help me carry my shoes?" These words were a blatant and high-profile threat. Most people would not dare to humiliate Qin Yu's people like this. But she just wanted this person to know her place and not have wishful thinking about rising to the top. Then, before Huang Ke could speak, Bei Yunj, who was beside her, stood up and slowly walked to the shoebox. "Is it this pair?" Han Yu sneered and closed her eyes without saying anything. As if she had vented her anger, Sister Wen immediately said, "Yes, those are our Sister Yu's favorite shoes." "You." Before she could finish speaking, suddenly, the shoebox slammed into the cabinet next to it, scaring the makeup artist so much that her hand trembled as she applied her eyeliner. It made Han Yu's face crooked. Han Yu's foot was hit by something, and her expression changed in fright. When she opened her eyes again, It was her favorite pair of shoes that had rolled on the ground. Some of the paint had been rubbed off. Instantly, Han Yu's expression darkened, and she pushed away the makeup artist who was about to apologize. She looked at Bei Yunj darkly. You, Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes curved, exuding a faint ruthlessness. She stirred up trouble calmly and sneered unruly. Don't play tricks with me. Otherwise, it won't be this pair of shoes rolling on the ground next time. Huang Ke inexplicably felt that Brother Yu's sister was the real master. Her aura was too strong. You. Han Yu was about to stand up and rush over to slap Bei Yunj. Then, she saw Qin Yu walking over. Han Yu immediately changed her expression. Film Emperor Qin, Guer, why did you hang up when I called you? The moment Qin Yu came over, he asked Bei Yunj intimately. Bei Yunj said leisurely, bring Xiaoke up. Huang Ke instantly felt guilty, and did not dare to look at Qin Yu. Qin Yu also glanced at his assistant faintly, feeling extremely unhappy. Then his gaze finally landed on Han Yu. Without waiting for Han Yu to speak, he frowned and said, Yang Xian really dares to push anyone to me. The air became strangely cold. Everyone could hear the disdain in Qin Yu's words. Sister Ran covered her crooked eyeliner with an ugly expression. Sister Wen complained. Brother Yu, it was this young lady beside you who deliberately hit Sister Rong with her shoe. That's why Sister Rong didn't put on her makeup properly. Hearing this, Qin Yu sneered and asked in return, why didn't my Guer hit me when she hit her? Everyone. This sentence sounded very domineering. If this was outside, Qin Yu might be harmed. However, Han Yu and the rest were so angry that their faces contorted. Qin Yu, what do you mean? Han Yu gritted her teeth. A mocking look appeared in Qin Yu's dark eyes. If Miss isn't willing to film, you can leave now. My studio will bear the expenses on the way. This made Han Yu even angrier. Otherwise, this song was written by Yuan, and would definitely become popular in the future. She would definitely quit and leave. P.S. There are 2 more updates. Chapter 852. She pursed her lips, her beautiful eyes filled with hatred as she glanced at Bei Yunj. Yes, best actor Qin, don't be angry. We can start filming immediately. Seeing that something was wrong, the manager immediately pulled Han Yu aside and brought her to the side to redo her makeup. After that, Qin Yu frowned. Or did she bully you? Huang Ke was speechless. He really did not know his sister at all. No one can bully me, Bei Yunj said slowly. If Guer doesn't like her, second brother will change her immediately. Qin Yu's dark eyes were serious. He could not bear to see Bei Yunj suffer. No need. Hurry up and film. With that said, Bei Yunj returned to the side. However, after a few solo matches, she could not help but frown. Why were they all at this level? The game ended before she had her fun. A thought suddenly flashed across Bei Yunj's mind, and her lips curled up. Soon, Delaney's cousin Vic received a message from the big boss who had always been very cold to him. Are you there? Are you giving me a chance to earn money? Seeing this message, Vic almost rolled off the sofa. Vic's hands were soft, especially when he thought of the cost of this big boss repairing the bugs in the maps of the gods previously. His corporation was still small, unlike Delaney's corporation, which could not afford to support a big boss. Vic was afraid of offending Bei Yunj, but he had no choice but to reply. Vic, thank you, Miss Pei, for remembering our company, but our company has no bugs anymore. How about I be your professional player's sparring partner? How about I don't charge you if you lose? How about 100,000 yuan if you win a round, according to your exchange rate? Seeing this, Vic was suddenly tempted. It was only 100,000 yuan per round. How many rounds could they lose? Besides, although Bei Yunj was good at computer skills, his family was raising professional players after all. They wouldn't lose too much, right? At this thought, Vic suddenly felt that Bei Yunj seemed to want to be a human today. He replied immediately. Vic, sure. Vic, I'll arrange it for you right away, soon. The team of professional players that Vic had arranged all sat on the gaming chairs with confusion. The club owner said that the big boss had spent a lot of money to find a sparring partner for them. But they couldn't lose. If they lost too many times, they wouldn't get a year-end bonus. Someone sneered. Worried that we'll lose? Is the sparring partner next door Qin Lang? He's so good. That's right. I've only lost to Qin Lang from Country A. TSK. I heard that if we lose a round, the boss has to pay 100,000. Since that person is so good, why don't you invite her to be a professional player? Isn't the boss a little too generous to his sparring partner? The few of them went online angrily and searched for the account number given by the boss. Finally, a user popped up. Earn 100 million first. The pro players. How arrogant. Not far away, Bei Yunj was playing with her laptop. She adjusted the voice changer and asked calmly, "Who's first?" "Very soon. I'll go first." One of the youths, who had a pretty good solo performance, opened his mouth, wanting to dampen this guy's spirit. At this moment, the training screen was also split and transferred to Vic. Bei Yunj licked her lips and chuckled. Sure. However, just as everyone was full of confidence and prepared to let this sparring partner know that there was a difference between professional players and amateurs, the confident smiles on their faces gradually stiffened. In about 3 minutes, their teammates' HP was already half gone. Chapter 853. In less than 6 minutes, the solo match was over. The team members froze. This was a sparring partner worth 100,000 yuan per round? Vic, who was looking at the split screen, was the most disappointed. It hadn't even been 10 minutes and they were defeated. Soon, the other party said calmly, "Although you can earn money quickly this way, I hope you can be more serious and continue." The team members were speechless. Soon the second team member started again. However, this time, the team member was obviously not as arrogant and perfunctory as the last time. He played very seriously. However, 8 minutes later he still lost, so until now, the team members realized that the Waterloo of their lives was not Qin Lang, but this sparring partner, who had earned 100 million yuan first. In EG Corporation's building, Vic was about to kill someone. 200,000 yuan. In less than half an hour, 200,000 yuan is gone. Did you see that? Vic was about to break down. The assistant said carefully, "But boss, according to Miss Pei's speed, isn't she sure to make a profit?" Vic could not keep a straight face. This was a game he made. His professional team was always second place. Now that he hired a sparring partner, they could not even defeat one person. Were they a bunch of useless people? Call them and tell them about the club. If anyone can't even last 10 minutes under her hands, they will be fined. The assistant quickly replied and sent a message to the club owner. After the club owner told the team members were even more stressed. 10 minutes. The longest time they lasted in a team of 7 was 12 minutes. And it was their captain. The team members felt that this person in front of them was even scarier than Qin Lang from Country A. Why was she a sparring partner at this level? Soon someone asked, "Coach, with your level, why don't you become a professional player?" Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and adjusted her earpiece. "I only earn quick money. I don't have time." The team members were speechless. What a simple and unpretentious big boss. Hurry up. I only charged 15 yuan at the internet cafe. There are still 4 hours. Bei Yunj looked at the time. The team members were speechless. She was using the lousy equipment of the internet cafe to fight them. They thought that this big boss should be using some top-notch equipment. In the end, it was just an internet cafe that cost 3 yuan an hour? Even so, not many of them could last more than 10 minutes against her. At the filming location, Sister Ran, don't be angry. I've checked and no one knows that little girl. Sister Wen walked over happily. Hanyu pursed her lips, and a trace of unwillingness flashed past her eyes. With Qin Yu around, I can't do anything to her. Who said that? Sister Wen walked over and handed the phone to Hanyu. This is... Hanyu was surprised. This was a photo of her and Bei Yunj. Because of the angle, it looked like they were quarreling. I've already asked a professional fan to send this photo to your fan club. A smug and happy look flashed across Sister Wen's eyes. Sister Wen, Didn't you arrange for 20 fans to come to Neely? This time, isn't that girl dead for sure? Hanyu had a sugar daddy and was very generous to her fans. Some time ago, she had given her fans more than 20 plane tickets and hotel coupons. During this period of time, those fans had also been outside taking photos of Hanyu. Now that they saw Hanyu being bullied, how could those fans not explode? Chapter 854. Won't anything happen if I arrange for them? Hanyu looked at herself in the dressing mirror and raised her eyebrows. With this photo, if you get those marketing accounts to help repost it and set the pace, others will only feel sorry for you. The manager was experienced and sneered. It's been so many years. Has the public's pity for the weak ever changed? Even if the fans mess around again, as long as you apologize casually, they won't have anything to say. Hanyu was silent for a moment, as if she agreed. Then she asked, where is she? She should be back soon. I heard Huang Ku on the phone just now. I think she said she'll be back in 10 minutes. Sister Wen immediately said. Then she said, Sister Ran, your fan club will take at most half an hour. Hanyu's lips curled up slightly. There was mockery in her eyes and a smile in her voice. Then don't let my fans make a wasted trip. Don't worry. Once that girl returns, I'll inform the fan club. Sister Wen was very confident. At this moment, Bei Yunj also left the internet cafe. After playing for an entire afternoon, she had earned nearly 3 million yuan. As for the professional players who had been ravaged for an entire afternoon, they were beginning to doubt if they were still suitable for the professional path. And Vic, who was far away in EG Corporation, Vic's mentality was already broken. He spent 6 million yuan in one afternoon. He thought that Bei Yunj had suddenly become a human, but he did not expect her to trick him. Vic took a deep breath and asked with his eyes closed, isn't she a computer science major? Isn't she in scientific research? How can she even play games like this? There was still a difference between playing games and studying computers, right? The little secretary was silent for a moment before she immediately smiled comfortingly. Boss, there's a saying in country, there's no harm in having more skills. Look, even though Miss Pei is a computer science major, it didn't stop her from winning the Ferris prize. Wake's face cracked in an instant. How did this person's brain work? Was she God's biological daughter? Vic could not help but take another deep breath and gritted his teeth. Let those guys practice again. If they make me spend so much money again, I'll teach them a lesson. How could a few million yuan for an afternoon of sparring be wasted so easily? If they did not win the championship, they should be cut into pieces. At this moment, Bei Yunj also returned to the set. Bei Yunj looked at the message that the bank card had been transferred to her account. After thinking for a while, she sent a thank you message to Vic. But this time, Vic didn't reply to her as quickly as before. However, a few minutes later, he sent a white Garfield crying emoji. Bei Yunj. 10 minutes later, Bei Yunj suddenly saw someone hurrying in and out with a group of people. Everyone had a serious look on their faces. It was as if he was going to settle some important matter. She couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. Soon, Bei Yunj grabbed Huang Ku, who came back and went out anxiously. Miss Pei, I'll play with you next time. I really have something urgent to attend to this time. Huang Ku was on the verge of tears. What happened? Bei Yunj asked lazily as she tugged on the long rabbit ears on Huang Kuyan's hood. She didn't loosen her grip. Huang Ku looked into Bei Yunj's eyes and didn't know how to lie. She could only lower her head and mumble. Miss Pei, you can just ask Brother Yu to settle this matter. Bei Yunj had a feeling that this matter had something to do with her. She licked her lips and chuckled. In the next moment, she stood up and prepared to leave. P.S. Be good and remember the monthly votes. Chapter 855. When Huang Ke saw this, she immediately panicked. She immediately went forward and hugged Bei Yunj, refusing to let her go. Miss Pei, please don't go. The fans outside have gone crazy. Bei Yunj. Not long after, Bei Yunj slowly pried her fingers away. Let go first. Huang Ke didn't dare to be too presumptuous and carefully let go. Tell me, what's going on with the fans outside? Bei Yunj glanced at the door casually. Huang Ke knew that she couldn't hide it, so she could only tell her in detail. We don't know why so many of Han Yu's fans appeared. They even said that they wanted to stop you. They said that you bullied Han Yu, and they wanted to stand up for her. They even asked you to apologize. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. But there's definitely something wrong with the number of fans they have. Even brother, you didn't have more than 10 fans visiting him today. Huang Ke immediately said. After all, they were overseas. How could there be so many fans chasing after them? She wasn't Yu Manran. Her works were best-selling overseas. Miss Pei, please don't go out first. Just as Huang Ke finished speaking, there was a sudden loud commotion at the door. Then 2 people walked in with a female employee. Her forehead was bleeding. What's going on? Huang Ke asked anxiously. Stop talking. Those fans can't enter, so they started to barge in. I don't know which immoral person threw stones randomly and injured her. The colleague said angrily. Hurry up, send Zhao Yin to the hospital. It was a mess inside and outside. A cold look flashed across Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes. She walked to Han Yu's side. Without waiting for anyone to react, she slammed the half-empty bottle of mineral water in her hand on the table. That bang was enough to make people's hearts tremble. Aren't you going to care about your fans? Bei Yunj's words were concise and comprehensive. She just stood in front of her. Her beautiful eyes were cold, and she seemed to be smiling. Han Yu and the others were shocked. Then they forced themselves to calm down. I don't know what's going on either. Han Yu forced herself to calm down. Sister Wen spoke again. Yes, it's not convenient for you. Bei Yunj's guess was confirmed when she heard this. This matter was done by these few people. Pretty good. Bei Yunj looked at them for a while, then suddenly sneered and said leisurely. It's not convenient, is it? There's a good place for you later. After saying this, Bei Yunj left. The 3 people in the arena felt an inexplicable lingering fear when they thought of the aura Bei Yunj had exuded when he walked over. This girl's aura was too terrifying. What does she mean by that? The manager frowned. He had a bad premonition. Sister Wen snorted. She probably thought that everything would be fine with Qin Yu around. She might not know that 8 out of 10 of these fans are Qin Yu and UUCP fans. Now that they had met the person who had torn apart their ship, how could their attitude be good? Perhaps, the more Qin Yu protected her, the more excited those fans would be. A cold glint flashed across Han Yu's eyes as the corners of her lips curled up slightly. She dared to embarrass her. This was what that girl deserved. Bei Yunj walked in the castle and looked at the group of fans on the first floor, who were still throwing rotten eggs at people. After a while, the call in her hand went through. Pei Pei, what's wrong? It was Lu Zhongzhou's voice. You can come and pick me up now. Bei Yunj's lips curled up into a lazy smile. Bring some people along. Someone is causing trouble here, and I can't go out. P.S. The QQ reading event this week has started. If you're interested, you can look at the top. Chapter 856. Cause trouble. Lu Zhongzhou frowned and immediately said, Okay, I understand. Don't move around and stay in a safe place. God Tan, and I will be there soon. Bei Yunj hummed in response. Soon. Bei Yunj saw the director and Qin Yu coming downstairs with dark expressions. It was obvious that they knew about this. How dare they block my sister? Who gave them the guts? Qin Yu's low and cold voice was filled with coldness. However, at this moment, Han Yu and the rest were about to leave, and were standing at the door. Qin Yu had already arranged for bodyguards, and his handsome face was dark. Qin Yu, it's not suitable for you to stand up for this matter. Someone from my company said that Han Yu and the rest are already leading the charge in the country. They said that your people are deliberately embarrassing Han Yu and bullying her, because she's a newbie. The director stopped Qin Yu, who wanted to go out. Qin Yu's ink-like eyes were filled with ruthlessness. His thin lips curled up slightly, full of sarcasm. His long legs kicked over the chair in front of him. The commotion was so loud that it was scary. His usually low and indifferent voice was filled with bone-chilling coldness as he sneered. Bully her? How long does she think she can stay in the industry if she plays this game with me? Chinyu had never cared much about female celebrities who tried to climb up the ranks and deliberately create hype. However, this time, it was obvious that she had crossed Chinyu's bottom line. Gur. With that said, Chinyu turned around and saw Bei Yunj. Guilt rose in his heart. If it wasn't for him, Gur wouldn't have been targeted. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. I got my friend to pick me up. Don't worry. No, how can your friend protect you? Chinyu frowned and immediately grabbed Bei Yunj's wrist. You have to follow behind me later. This was very risky. After all, to Chinyu, this face was very important. However, as long as Bei Yunj asked, he could even give her his life. I said there's no need. Bei Yunj broke free from Chinyu. Seeing that Chinyu's eyes were dazed, they slowly darkened. She pursed her lips and was silent for a long time. I'm sorry. Even if she didn't snatch this body, this kinship still didn't belong to her. She could take care of the people she cared about for the original owner, but she couldn't touch the original owner's family. Not to mention letting Chinyu take the risk for her. Gur. Chinyu licked his red lips. After thinking for a moment, he lowered his head and coaxed her softly. Just listen to second brother, okay? Second brother, I beg you. I'm not trying to restrict your freedom. I'm just worried that you won't be safe. When the others saw this scene, they were all stunned. Second brother? Was this Chinyu's precious sister? She had long heard that Chinyu doted on his biological sister, but she did not expect it to be to this extent. They had never heard Chinyu speak to anyone in such a pleading tone. Bei Yunj pursed her lips. After a long while, her phone vibrated. Her eyes darkened. Come with me then. But I have something to do, so I can't stay at your place. Hearing this, before Chinyu could speak, he saw Bei Yunj walk forward. He could only follow closely behind. At this moment, Hanyu, who was outside, had not left. The nanny van was also watching the commotion not far away. The fans at the door were at their peak, and were ready to smash the car later. It didn't matter if that vixen would be sitting in Chinyu's car or not. However, what they didn't expect was that a car really did stop at the entrance. It was a long military green car. Soon, more than a dozen people wearing two types of military green combat uniforms came out from inside. One of the teams was even wearing bulletproof vests. All of them looked well-trained and muscular. They were holding long black wooden guns. P.S. Good night, be good, and remember the monthly votes. Help Master Pei get on the rankings? Pinch. The weekly ranking event was pinned at the top of the QQ book review section. There were snacks around that were specially prepared by the management ladies. Chapter 857. The two men in front had hawk-like eyes as they pursed their thin lips and walked towards the door. The members of the two teams automatically formed two rows and blocked a path, giving off a solemn feeling. Soon, the things that the group of fans wanted to smash the car fell heavily to the ground, and their bodies went weak. Who dared to do this? It was illegal to attack the army. They were only fans and had never seen the world. They could see superstars being escorted by more than 10 bodyguards. But these were people from the country. Before they could react, the people they had seen in the photos walked out, all of them with hatred on their faces. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj glanced at them slowly, making them feel inexplicably nervous and oppressed. She said, "They should still have my photos. Otherwise, how could this group of fans recognize her?" Lu Zhongzhou frowned, looking slightly cold. Had this group of people become stupid from chasing celebrities? They dared to attack anyone. Tan Nan's cold voice sounded. "Get in the car first. We'll settle these matters." Bei Yunj hummed in response, and looked at the stunned Chinyu behind her. Her eyebrows moved and she was a little hesitant. Then, "I'll get going first. I'll look for you tomorrow." After Chinyu regained his senses, his mind was in a mess. He didn't know how Bei Yunj knew these people. However, someone who could wear such clothes couldn't be a bad person. Besides, he could tell that these people valued Bei Yunj's safety very much. Chinyu wanted to say something but stopped. Then he chuckled. Okay. He didn't know how to ask about her now. After all, as her brother, He had neglected his duty for so many years. Have a good rest when you get back. With that said, Bae-yunj got into the car. However, because of this simple concern, Chin-yu's cold heart suddenly warmed, as if the snow had just melted. His lips curved. Okay. In the nanny van not far away, when Han-yu saw Bae-yunj being escorted into the car, she froze and her pupils constricted. Who are those people? When the others saw this, it was as if a basin of cold water had been poured over their hearts. Why was that girl being escorted by these people? They had originally thought that she was just a young lady who relied on her looks to climb up the social ladder. But now, this girl's identity was clearly not simple. What should we do? There won't be any problems, right? Sister Wen began to feel afraid. There was still room for discussion if they offended capitalists. After all, there were so many capitalists who didn't agree with him. But if he was called out by the higher-ups, he would definitely be banned. Shut up, the manager said coldly. It's just a fan's behavior. What does it have to do with us? They took a deep breath, but their hearts were very uneasy. Subsequently, just as Han-yu was about to ask her manager to enlighten the fans and leave a good impression on them, another alarm sounded. Everyone turned around and saw that it was Neely's local police car. When 4 or 5 police cars arrived, they quickly went forward to greet and talk to Lu Zhongzhou. In the meantime, those fans had a bad premonition and wanted to run away. But who knew? Soon, the people who got out of the police car surrounded them, scaring them so much that their faces turned pale. They no longer had the aura of throwing stones at people just now. The chief communicated with them in an unfamiliar language. I'm sorry, girls. You're involved in causing trouble and intentional injury. Please come back to the station with us for investigation. Instantly, the fans almost cried in fear. P.S. I'm back for an update. Babies, remember the monthly ticket. Chapter 858. We're just upholding justice. Why are you arresting us? One of the female university students bit her lip and communicated with him. It's clearly that woman who deliberately bullied our Yu. However, hearing this, the chief could not help but sneer. Since you can uphold justice, why do you need us? You've already caused injuries and caused a bad impact. You have to bear legal responsibility. Another recorder said coldly, including your so-called idols. If the situation is serious, we will apply for her to be banned from performing in our nation. With that said, the expression of the manager, who had just gotten out of the car, changed. It was not easy for them to become the female lead of Chin-yu's MV. If they could not perform in our nation, wouldn't they ruin their international development? No one thought why it was so serious. At this moment, Lu Zhongzhou also glanced at them coldly. Tan Nan said softly to the chief, I want to assist you in your investigation. That person's information might still be in their hands. The chief nodded reasonably. No problem. They had done a lot of work to invite that person over this time. Of course, nothing could happen to her and Neely. Not long after, Chin-yu received a notice from Yang Xian. The marketing that Han-yu had gotten someone to buy seemed to have been dealt with. Even Han-yu and her team's main accounts had been blocked. They did not know the reason yet. In the car, someone has already dealt with the matter. Their behavior this time is bad. I'll apply for the higher-ups to deal with these artistes. Lu Zhongzhou had just finished speaking when he was rejected. Chin, you can't do it. This caused Lu Zhongzhou to be stunned. After Bae-yunj felt Lu Zhongzhou in the other's gazes, she said calmly, That's my second brother. With that said, only then did the others react. She was a rich young lady. Some time ago, she had even appeared on a show with Chin-yu. However, the show was live-streamed and Bae-yunj's scenes were cut out of the recording. At the police station, Han-yu's expression did not look too good. She finally knew what Bae-yunj meant when she said, There's a good place for you later. At the police station, Han-yu bit her lip. Her face was illuminated by the dazzling white light. Soon someone came to interrogate her. This did not look like an ordinary crime at all, making Han-yu and the rest feel afraid. In one night, Han-yu and the others had vomited everything they wanted to vomit. He was arranged to be deported back to his country. After the fans woke up, They knew that they were being used. They all actively wrote self-reflections and wanted to go home as soon as possible. The next day, Hanyu had directly made the headlines. The financier originally wanted to interfere, but after knowing who the person who touched Hanyu was, he immediately pretended to be dead. In the morning, after Pei Yunj was arranged to have breakfast, she went to the award ceremony venue. Because Farisk was the grand prize, the award ceremony was held in Neely's largest church from the last century. The people who entered the venue were all people who had won international awards. Some of them were also representatives of the companies that had invested in them. Higgins Group used to be the #1 technology group, so they always had this opportunity to see the real faces of these gods that they usually couldn't see. Shang Yan, do you think I can support that lass with you just because you brought me here? Fan Zhiqing chuckled. Shang Yan said slowly, I'm helping you so that you won't stand on the wrong side. Fan Zhiqing was the heir of the fan group in a country. He focused on scientific research and had always cooperated with the Higgins Group. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.